Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has Dragon and Phoenix mode. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by LEOKU123 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. And I think to myself, what a wonderful woo world I see. The hood figure paused as Konoha came into view. I'm here at last. The figure thought as he gazed at the gates of Konoha. Let's hope I can find a suitable apprentice here in Konoha. Kiri, Kumo, Suna, and Iwa were all busts. At this point, I'm just willing to pick anyone to avoid her wrath. Curse her and her demon pans. The figure, now revealed to be a man, visibly flinched at the thought of being attacked by his wife's demon pans. Curse you, Kami. Why? Why? Why must I be immortal? The man was brought out of his musing and his self-pity as he comes across two men supposedly guarding the gates of Konoha. The two guards were knocked out. So the hooded man withdrew his hand from his tattered tan coat, formed so one-handed hand seals, shot a suitan, Mizurappa right into the face of the two sleeping guards. What the hell? The guard with the bandage over his nose sputtered. Huh? The guard with hair over his right said. As the two stood up, our favorite hooded figure took a good look at them. The shorter one on the right that spoke second had brown hair with bangs draped over his right eye. He had a Konoha hide in the form of a bandana on his head. He was wearing the classic Konoha green chunin flak jacket with a blue shirt and pants to match. The taller ninja on the left who spoke first had spiky and wild blue hair with a bandage on his nose and a small goatee on his chin. He was wearing the exact same thing as his partner. Heyo Gazamasu, the name is Izumo Kamizuki, nice to meet you. The shorter one, now identified as Izumo, said. I'm Kitetsu Hagane. What is your name and what is your business in Konoha? Kitetsu demanded, switching into business mode. I am the humble traveler that goes by the name of Hanu Mugenu. I seek asylum within the wonderful village of Konoha. Hanu declared cheerfully. Alright then, I'll call our messenger ninja to take you to the Hokage. What would you like to register as? Izumo inquired as his hand creeped upwards towards the earpiece that lay dormant in his ear. What a weird but regal name. I would like to register as a citizen. That statement threw the two guards off. Why would someone who knew a Suitan jutsu, and one with half seals mind you, want to be a citizen? Izumo asked, beating Kitetsu to the punch. How did you know I used a Suitan jutsu to wake you up? Hanu asked, still completely unaware that he was still holding up the same shark half seal. You're holding up the same sign, dude. Both guards deadpanned. Oh. Hahaha. Hanu chuckled. Both guards shook their heads as Izumo clicked a button on his earpiece. Genma, I need you to escort a fella to the Hokage to sign citizenship papers. Izumo paused as he waited for a reply. Okay, he's on his way. Izumo announced. Sure enough, as soon as he stopped speaking, Genma appeared in a swirl of leaves. Genma Shiranui was a man who bore a strong resemblance to Izumo. He wore the standard chunin outfit with his hide worn as a bandana backwards. Like Izumo, Genma had brown hair, however, the hair was not covering his eye. Genma's brownish green eye met the purple-red slitted pupil one of Hanu. All Genma gave was a simple nod, and both Hanu and Genma raced off towards the Hokage's tower. As they journey towards the Hokage's tower, a smell reaches Hanu's nose. Kitsune. But it seems to be dampened by something. This is interesting. Naruto's apartment. As the little 5-year-old Naruto sat in the living room of the incredulously atrocious apartment he owns, Naruto's tenant speaks to him. Naru-kun, are you okay? Ayakane-chan, I'm just worried. Naruto furrows his brow in anticipation. Naruto hasn't always been able to talk to Akane, in fact, it was only a month ago that he met the big emotional furball known as the Kyuubi. Flashback, Naruto lay beaten and broken after an attack by a mob with civilians and shinobi alike, yelling Demon Brat and Kyuubi's devil spawn. As Naruto slipped into unconsciousness, he found himself in a place he had never been before. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto stood in an area that was very sewer-like, with broken pipes threatening to fall on our young hero, waters raging towards the blonde as it flowed. Naruto heard the soft sound of crying emanating from a corner of the sewer. Hello? Naruto called out. As Naruto walked forward, he saw where the sobs were coming from. He observed a beautiful female with a kimono that was light crimson with foxes on it that seemed to move as the sobs racked her body. Luscious crimson hair with orange tips formed a mess around her as 9 wonderful orange tails with yellow tips flowed from her tailbone. Naruto blushed as he gazed upon the one female that could match Kami in beauty. Hello? Naruto called again, this time in a whisper. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm just sad. The vixen spoke at last, almost inaudibly. Why are you sad? What is your name? Naruto spoke a bit louder. I'm Akane, but you may know me as the Kyuubi. The fourth sealed me into you when he beat me. I'm sad because I'm the cause of all your sadness and the reason the villagers hate you. I understand if you hate and don't want to be around a monster. Akane's cries were renewed with more vigor than last time. "I don't hate you, it wasn't your fault," Naruto said as he comforted her. "Thank you Naru-kun, but it's time you wake up and thank you again for not hating me," Akane said as she stood, wiped the tears from her face, and one of her tails touched Naruto on the forehead. As she did, a bright light emanated from the point of contact and Naruto found himself outside again. Flashback end. "Are you sure you're okay Naru?" Akane pressed. "No." Naruto cries out. "I don't want to be banished, but everyone hates me. I don't know what to do." Naruto sobs, the cries racking his body as Akane whispers to him. "Shush Atato Akane Ni-chan will always love you." As Naruto got quieter and ultimately stopped crying, Akane smelled something. "Naru-kun, I smell dragon. Go find him, maybe he can help. Dragons are lovers, not fighters. But when they fight, no one can match up to them, not even me." Akane whispers. "Hi Akane Ni-chan." As Naruto walked towards the grocery shop, he found himself completely surrounded with thugs. "Hey guys look, it's the demon brat. Let's kill him." A thug roared. As shouts of "let's kill him" filled the air, Naruto's eyes widened and he tried to run. But no matter where he went, there were thugs surrounding him. As a single tear rolled down his tanned whiskered face and the wind ruffled his beautiful sun-kissed blonde hair, the thugs trudged forward and attacked. Streets of Konoha. As Hanu finally got out of the Hokage's office after a long time with paperwork, shouts of "demon brat," hell-born murderer of a fox, and Kyuubi shit reached his ears, coupled with the screams of a child. Hanu's blood boiled and raged inside his body as he thought. Demons. Hanu sped towards the sound of the child's screams and maniacal laughter. He careened around buildings and obstacles to arrive at a scene that made him so angry that the sky darkened in response to the sheer power emanating from the man. "Ali," when the screams reached Hanu's ears. The leader of the thugs was raping Naruto. He was thrusting his erected member into the blonde and removing in quick motions, causing Naruto to scream in anguish. Once he finished, each thug took their turn raping Naruto for a grand total of 37 men and 4 women. Once they were done, each took a turn slicing the boy in various places when the sky darkened. Why is the sky so dark? It's only 4:30. One thug inquired. The answer soon came to them in the form of a tall 6'7" man with long purple hair with red streaks reaching mid-calf. His eyes were purple red, like his hair, with slitted pupils. The man was wearing a simple purple shirt with a red dragon inscribed within it, a purple scarf wrapped around his neck. His arms were muscular and, like the rest of his skin, chocolate brown. He wore a pair of black pants with a purple belt and black belt buckle in the shape of a dragon. He had little horns sticking out of the top of his head, reaching barely an inch above his hair. Around him was an aura of sheer power. This was Hanu Mugenu. His lips parted as 6 words flowed eloquently from them. "Slice with a dragon's talon. Mugenu." Hanu whispered as his hands reached upwards as if grasping a katana. A katana then materialized within his hands which he unsheathed. A bright light shined as he spoke the words and unsheathed the katana. He simply faded out of existence, reappearing on the other side of the thugs facing away from them and sheathing the katana that was coated in a bright light. He uttered a simple clause. "You heard it didn't you, the sound of the divine wind." As the final word left his mouth and the guard of the katana met the top of the sheath with an audible click, most of the thugs fell dead decapitated. However, the 2 lead thugs were met with a different fate. The second in command of the thugs fell dead diced into perfect cubes of flesh, muscle, and bone. The leader of the thugs fell vivisected from throat to solar plexus like the animal he was, blood-soaked organs spilling from his body, his eyes and mouth open in a scream that was never heard. "Boy, are you okay?" Hanu asked rhetorically. He watched as the katana disappeared and the boy sat up. "Not really BEWLCH," Naruto said before a large glob of blood forced its way out of Naruto's esophagus and out his mouth. "Shit, don't worry, I'll take you to the hospital." Hanu's last few words were to him as the boy slumped over unconscious. "Konoha's hospital. Hey someone come help this poor boy, he's fucking dying." Hanu screamed, getting angrier by the second. A nurse came to try to calm him down. "Calm down sir, we'll help him yes it's Kyuubi demon, doctors, come help me kill it." The nurse shouted to get the attention of the other doctors. Fortunately, they were busy and didn't hear. "No matter, I'll kill the boy myself." At that point, Hanu had had enough of the nurse's nonsensical bullshit. "Shut the fuck up and help this motherfucking boy or so help me Kami," Hanu said quietly but menacingly at first, but his volume then escalated as he finished his threat. "I will disembowel you motherfucking piece of shit." The nurse almost shit himself at the controlled anger directed towards him. "Notice I said controlled." The nurse quickly nodded and proceeded to heal the boy in front of Hanu. Hanu quickly left the village that very night. The next day, Naruto found himself in the Hokage's office as the results of the vote for Naruto's banishment was released. Naruto-kun Saratobi's grief-stricken voice came at last. With a total of 72 for and 28 against, "Naruto, you have been banished." A single tear rolled down Saratobi's eye as Naruto spoke. "It wasn't your fault Saratobi Jiji, don't beat yourself up about it. Naruto's sad voice came as it trembled. Hokage's gates, ha 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 ha. At last we are rid of the Kyuubi brat. Came the voice of the chameleon-masked Anbu. Goat demon. Finally, the crystal-like tears fell from Naruto's eyes as he ran off sobbing into the night, the laughing of the Anbu trailing behind all through the forest. Chapter 1. Kumo and End of the Jinchuriki. Forest outside of Konoha. Naruto ran through the forest at speed only trained shinobi could hope to match. As he ran, he tripped on a branch and flew through the air and crashed into a solid object landing in a heap on the ground. Aitai, the object said. Ha, it's the man who saved me. Naruto's tears flowed slower as his cerulean blue eyes met the purple-red slit ones of his savior. I'm Naruto. Nice to meet you. Hello, Ruto-kun. I'm Hanu. Why are you out here alone? As the words came out of Hanu's lips, Naruto's smile morphed into a frown and his head drooped. I was banished for being a demon. Naruto accentuated the final word, pouring as much hate and distaste into it as possible. The hate wasn't lost on Hanu either, his eyes blazing with unbridled fury, an angry and slightly incredulous look on his face. How dare they? The pure hate coming out of those 3 words scared both Naruto and the birds in the area. You keep the Kyuubi safe from demolishing that wretched village, and they banish you. All of a sudden, the hate and anger on his face disappeared, a serious look in its stead, even a sort of gentleness settled into his eyes. What is your dream, Ruto-kun? Naruto adopted a thinking pose. I want to be the strongest ninja in the whole world. The tears in his eyes finally disappeared with a determined look appearing. Hanu nodded, however, the look in his eyes betrayed something else, a bit like he was unsatisfied. Do you have any precious people? Hanu asked after a few moments. Naruto's eyes widened as images of people flashed within his head. A picture of a young brunette and her father appeared, Aim-chan and Tuchi-san next, an aged old man in Hokage gear appeared, Oji-san and Anbu with purple hair, and a Nico mask was next, Yuga-chan finally. An Anbu with short black hair and a Karasu mask appeared, Itachi Nice and Naruto nodded at the question. Do you want to protect them, Naruto-kun? Hanu asked using Naruto's full name for the first time since they met. Once again Naruto nodded. Then tell me, young hatchling, what is your dream? Naruto was a bit startled by the shout, however a look of fire appeared in his eyes. My dream is to become the strongest shinobi so that I can protect my precious people. Naruto spoke. A small smile graced the chocolate brown face of Hanu as he nodded. I will train you to become a shinobi. But first, a lesson on what I am. And no interruptions please. Naruto nodded, so Hanu continued, a dragon is a powerful species superior to demons in every way. They surpass demons in speed, power, grace, knowledge, and much more. Dragons use what is known as mana for spells, or a much more potent version of chakra. Mana is stronger because it comes directly from the soul energy. Dragon souls are split into 2 parts. The spiritual and physical manifestations of the soul. Dragons are stronger because each of these pieces of the soul is applied directly where needed. The physical manifestation increases physical capabilities, and the spiritual manifestation of the soul increases the power of spells. Because of this, even in human form, bipedal dragons' physical capabilities are 100 to 500 times that of even the more physically capable shinobi. Because of this, their mana is 10,000 to 20,000 times more potent than Yaki, which as you know is very potent. Before your training will commence, I will turn you into a being that is 99% dragon and 1% human. At this, Naruto cocked his head to the side slightly. Why not just make me 100% dragon? Naruto inquired. For 2 reasons actually. Reason 1. I need to extract the Kyuubi. At this, Naruto looked alarmed, so Hanu continued, however, in order to so safely, I must extract the Kyuubi from your human self. After all, the Kyuubi was sealed inside a human host, and if I made you a full dragon before extracting her, she would cease to exist. Reason 2. Dragons all have an ability that allows them to tamper with the potency of foreign energy in their system and transform it into mana without changing the amount. This way, I can give all of Kyuubi's chakra to you while extracting her soul and body, give her back 4 taels worth of Yaki, and she can journey with us. Naruto looked relieved instantly. However, you must know that when dragon blood activates on a non-dragonborn person, they are sent into a coma for a month so that the dragon blood can get accustomed to the new body and for changes to take place. Hanu informed Naruto. Oh, and since you are without family currently, I officially name you my son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Mugenryu. Naruto's eyes widened to dinner plates as he trembled with joy, tears making their way down his face. Suddenly, Naruto tackled Glumps his new father right to the ground. Thank you so much Two-san. Naruto cried out as sobs of joy racked his body. You're welcome Sachi-kun. Hanu's eyes softened as Naruto cried himself to sleep. It's time for me to perform the ritual and transform him. Hanu's eyes hardened as he bit his finger drawing blood. His eyes glowed deep purple and red. He drew arcane runes in the air in front of him with a bloody finger, and the runes spread out to circle both Naruto and Hanu. The bright flash shined and Hanu spoke at last, transfer complete. The next morning, the new father and son duo stood in a clearing deep in the forest. Sachi, we will be journeying to all the 5 great nations for your training as a shinobi, and we will start with Kumo. You will masquerade as a human boy. We leave tomorrow. Now, it's time for our next lesson. The two sat down crisscross applesauce style in the middle of the clearing. Dragons are categorized by color and elements. But before we get in depth, I must show you my dragon-human hybrid form. Hanu stood up and walked a few meters from Naruto and suddenly, purple, red, and gold energy burst from his form, swirling around him. Soon, the huge power died down, and a beautiful creature stood where Hanu previously stood. Hanu looked the same in stature and facial features, but his purple-red hair and eyes gained gold highlights. Black horns jutted from beneath Hanu's hair and curved outwards like a backwards and sideways S. They stuck out 1 foot in front of his face and ended in a point sharp enough to cut through diamonds. He had on a beautiful gold kimono with red and purple dragons snaking their way upwards, flames spewing forth from their maws. He had on gold pauldrons on his shoulders that were littered with spikes. His pants were a deep purple that glittered like scales, with a small pouch that seemingly held nothing but 2 curved daggers. At his hips were 2 5-feet adachi and 2 7.5 feet zambados somehow tied to his back. 8 gargantuan gold, red, and purple wings graced his back, while 2 6-feet-long tails extended from his tailbone, armored, and had spike running up them, all the way to the back of his neck. He had 2 gold gauntlets with dragon claws on them attached to his hands, and 2 purple-red vambraces attached to his forearms. Hanu literally glowed with enough regality to put Kami to shame. Naruto sat there with shock plastered on his face as he observed this man that was his father. "That's a shit ton of gold," he whispered. Hanu face vaulted. "As you see, I am purple, gold, and red. Red represents my affinity to flame and control over blood, as well as mastery of the arcane arts. Purple represents my affinity to wind, lightning, nuclear, and plasma, as well as physical enhancements. The lightning represents speed, power, and durability. The wind represents speed, power, and flexibility agility. However, gold is special. There has never been a gold dragon in history besides myself. God, not Kami, selected me as his avatar, the one to carry out his wishes. Gold represents the infinity. It represents an affinity to everything, as well as arcane arts and physical enhancements. So my official title is Emperor Hanu Mugenryu Dairazel, Avatar of God, Raijin, Infinity Dragon. There are other colors of the spectrum for dragons such as black, white, and yellow. Black represents fire and wind, but also a new hybrid element created from the wind and fire joining together. This new element has 3 forms. Black fire, Hell's fire, and Foxfire. It usually has 2 forms, but with a fox demon turned dragon, this dragon can access Foxfire. It also has access to darkness and a power and speed enhancement. White is also wind and fire manipulation with the addition of light. However, White isn't capitalizing on the evil properties of the new flame, but rather the healing properties. So similarly, this flame has 3 forms. White fire, Heaven's flame, and Foxfire. But don't get me wrong, white fire and Heaven's flame also can be destructive, however, the wielder chooses what is burnt unlike black and Hell's fire, which just burns everything. It also has a speed and power enhancement, but also healing enhancement and access to healing arcane arts. Yellow is pure lightning manipulation with a speed enhancement. Not all too impressive. However, it does have a bit of light manipulation there if you are strong enough. Hanu finished his lecture. Naruto's mind was reeling from the huge and continuous influx of information flowing from the dragon in front of him. However, he got it. "Are we leaving for Kumo yet?" Naruto asked hopefully, to avoid more lectures. "Tomorrow we are tch." Within the time it took Naruto to blink, Hanu's tails snaked around Naruto and wrapped themselves around the waist and offending arm of the assailant, while a dagger was held over the assailant's heart. Change of plans. When non-dragon-born demons have dragon blood given to them, a kill is needed to awaken the new blood. Naruto's cerulean eyes widened as he heard his father's words, and widened even further, if that was possible, when he took in the assailant's attire. The man before him had a chameleon-style Anbu mask, and the 2 red bars on the side of the mask indicated that he was a lieutenant. He was tall, lanky, but still packing muscle. He wore the standard Anbu issue clothing and armor, complete with the standard Anbu issue tanto. He had short brown hair and had his Konoha hide 8 slung around his neck. The lack of a slash meant that he was still a loyal ninja of Konoha. Naruto's eyes hardened instantly and withdrew the dagger his father handed to him. The Anbu was sweating, here he was, right next to the demon, but captive. The demon was ripe and ready to kill him. He wanted to use Kawarimi, however, his trusty log was removing sometime when this dragon demon caught him, and this thing was cutting off his flow of chakra. So he did the only logical thing one would do in a captive situation such as this one. Scream and beg. And that is exactly what he did. Please 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 don't kill me, I'll be good daddy, I swear. Please. Both Naruto and Hanu sweat dropped, but Naruto readied the dagger. Utilizing his now extensive vocabulary, thanks to Kyuubi, Naruto proclaimed his judgment. For attempted murder, as well as past transgressions you and your squad member committed against me, you're sentenced death. Naruto's eyes flashed and the hand that held the dagger over the man's heart descended, plunging deep within the chest cavity of the man. Blood squirted out as both the left aorta and left ventricle were irreparably damaged, and the man died. The blood within Naruto almost instantly activated, Naruto dropped to the ground and howled with pain. Don't worry, the pain will end soon. Hanu shouted over the wails of pain, soon after he dropped the now dead Anbu. Sure enough, the howls dulled to a low whimper, and Naruto entered his coma. Hanu trekked through the forest with Naruto in tow and came to a small cottage he had been using as a house. He entered the room here reserved for Naruto and laid him on the bed. I will change the gravity to match that of my home planet so he gets training in while he's in the coma. Hanu also applied gravity seals to Naruto's body for when the boy woke up. He snapped his fingers and runes flew off the wall circling the boy as a layer of mana kept his body from being damaged during the shift in weight. Hanu looked at the boy for a bit longer and smiled thinking about his own son and walked to the kitchen to eat. 1 month later, the Dragon Emperor sat in the room as Naruto stirred and his eyes cracked open. The first thing the boy realized when his eyes opened that he could see a lot better, and I mean a lot. Without a word, Hanu assisted the new dragon to the mirror as he gazed upon his new form. Naruto grew, putting him at 4 feet 5, a bit tall for his age of 5. Muscles also lined his body, slightly hidden by his new attire. Naruto wore a nice black shirt with a white dragon snaking around his torso. He had black jeans on with a completely white belt, the pant leg slightly hidden in his new black and white boots. But his actually body changes were the dumbfounding part of his little transformation. Naruto's blonde hair was now white with black streaks in it and fell to the small of his back and like his father, 2 black horns thrust their way through his hair and formed a sideways backwards S, coming out about 4 inches in front of his face. 2 large leathery wings, with black scales on one wing and white on the other, graced his back, while one 4 feet long tail curled around his feet. The white and black scales were intermingled throughout the tail, ending in a nice sharp arrow point. Hanu nodded with approval. It seems you have strong affinities to wind, fire, darkness, and light. It's impressive to get opposite colors. However, you still only have as much mana as you did chakra, which is mid-chunin level. As such, it is time to extract Kyuubi and give her 4 taels worth of Yaki and give you 9 taels worth of mana. Hanu removed Naruto's clothes, even his tighty-whities, and placed his hands on Naruto's navel as the seal appeared. He then chanted in the arcane language as the seal shined and disappeared, a 4-tailed Akane appearing next to him. Even at age 5, Naruto's already pretty large meat started to erect as Akane appeared. Thing is, he was butt naked and lying on his back, so Akane began to blush as she saw Naruto's member erect to 3 in. Done. Hanu exclaimed. He helped Naruto get his tighty-whities back on because his would not stop erecting and his tighty-whities wouldn't fit. So Naruto pushed it down while Hanu pulled up and the underwear finally slipped on. He put on the rest of his clothes as the now trio went outside. Now that you have become a dragon hybrid, it is time to teach you how to fly and to some extent, use your affinities. Do you feel the muscles on your back, Naru-chan? Naruto cringed when his father used the suffix chan, which was not unnoticed by Akane. You will also feel the extra appendage near your tailbone, Naru-chan. Akane teased in tandem with Hanu. At this, Naruto visibly reddened and his tail lashed unintentionally and his wings fluttered, creating a slight distortion in the air direction. As his extra appendages moved, Naruto's eyes widened as he realized what had just happened. I moved them. Naruto screamed while he held up a V for victory sign. In the meantime, Hanu and Akane were conversing, but paused. Did you say something? The demon and dragon rulers spoke in unison. It was at this moment that Naruto snapped. Damn you and your hepatitis. He yelled to the high heavens. Inside Konoha, a silver-haired Anbu and black-haired spandex-wearing Jonin sneezed in tandem. I think someone is copying us, Kakashi. What do you think? The spandex Jonin asked. The Anbu, now known as Kakashi, simply kept reading the smut known as Icha Icha Paradise Volume 4 Special Edition with never-before-seen material, signed by Jerry Oyasama himself. He then looked up. Did you say something, Guy-san? Curse you, Kakashi, and your hepatitis. He yelled to the high heavens. In the clearing, Naruto finally got the hang of flying and fighting a bit with his tail, so the group decided it was time to journey to Kiri. The 8 wings on Hanu's back snapped open with a huge gust of wind that leveled half the trees in the clearing. Akane and Naruto sweat dropped. Oops. Hanu rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Akane shook her head as she used her wind affinity to spin the 9 fluffy red tails and take off. In another dimension, a certain fox with 2 tails sneezed violently. A red echidna, a blue hedgehog, and a peach bunny walked over to the fox. You alright, Tails? The blue hedgehog asked. Yeah, I'm good, but I think someone just copied me, Sonic. Tails replied. Sonic nodded as the group once again left to find the 7 emeralds. A mile outside of Kumo. Let's stop here. Naruto, in order to go into Kumo inconspicuously, I'm going to need you to remove the dragonic feature. And the simplest way to do that is simply to will them back into your body. Akane-chan and I will do the same, alright Sachi. Naruto nodded and did exactly what his father instructed him to do, the wings snapping against his back and eventually disappearing, his tail retracted back into his tailbone, his horns disappeared back into the top of his skull. He also adopted some more civilian-like clothes, with his father and sister doing the same. Akane changed her hair color to platinum blonde, while Hanu's becoming a deep blonde. Naruto chose his old blonde hair color and hairstyle, and the three approached the gate of Kiri. The gates of Kumo. As the trio approached the gate, the guard stopped them demanding their names and countries of origin. Heyo, I am Hanu Uzumaki, this is my wife Akane Uzumaki, and our son, Naruto Uzumaki. We traveled from the land of iron because civilian life there isn't very interesting and we didn't want our son to become a samurai, but a shinobi. The lie rolling off of Hanu's tongue with practiced ease. His wife smiled, as did his son. The guards nodded, gave them academy admission forms, as well as citizenship forms for them to sign, and let them into the village. In 1 week, Naruto would start the academy. 1 week later at the academy, Naruto and the rest of the class had finished introductions and were picking seats. Naruto looked around until he saw a dark-skinned redhead, a dark-skinned black-haired boy with a lollipop in his mouth, and a tallish, for the age of 5, blonde arguing. Of course not. I'm to become a jonin and be the strongest jonin ever. The redhead screamed. MMPH, I think not, I'm going to become the strongest jonin, so go sit in a corner by yourself Carrie. The blonde scoffed. The lollipop boy's eyes widened. But Samui, Carrie, what if we get captured and they realize that Carrie and I are the Raikage's kids and that you are Yujito-sama's daughter, the strongest Anbu to ever come out of Kumo? Then we will be killed and our heads will be sent back to Daddy and Yujito-sama and they will be so sad that when an attack happens on the village, they will be distracted and killed, then Kumo will get destroyed and the enemy will start offing villages one a day. The boy was interrupted by both Samui and Carrie. Shut up Amoy. They seem fun, I will sit by them. Naruto thought as he observed the scene. Hello. He said startling the trio. May I sit by you three? They nodded and Naruto took his seat. Ironically enough, as soon as Naruto's arse hit the seat, a swirl of lightning appeared and Dari appeared. Hello, I care not for any additional intros that I missed, I will simply start class by asking who knows what chakra is. Everyone raised his or her hands. Dari noted this and asked another question, who knows how to channel it? Again, all hands went up. Great, now line up and take a piece of this chakra paper. Stand in front of me and I will test your chakra affinities. Everyone made a line with the paper in hand. Samui was first. She channeled her chakra into the paper and it immediately started to crumple, even giving off a lot of sparks. She yelped and dropped it. Lightning affinity, and a strong one at that. Next. Carrie came next and channeled her chakra into the paper. One half crumpled and sparked while the other side of the paper grew wet and a small but steady stream of water flowed from the paper. Wow. Strong affinities in lightning and water. Nice. Next. Amoy did the same. Lightning, but when Naruto's turn came up, the paper split into 8. One piece soaking, another turning to dust, another crumpling and sparking, another erupted in flames, another bursting into black flames, another in white flames, another turning black, and the final piece turning white. Dari stood there dumbfounded as he looked on in shock. Naruto shook his head and thought, this is going to be a long day. Dari shook his head to get rid of the cobwebs in it and said, see me after class Naruto. I have something for you. Naruto nodded and sat back in his seat. He's got an insanely strong affinity for all the basic elements, for black fire release, for white fire release, for darkness release, and light release. This is insane. I'll have to get a trainer for his lightning and water elements, I think I'll ask Kurabi to teach him. After class, Naruto, I must test the potency and amount of your chakra alright. Dari informed. Naruto nodded as Dari made a half-ram hand seal, and a pale blue glow enveloped his hand. Dari waved his hand over Naruto's head and Dari's usual obsidian eyes turned a brilliant blue and glowed. Elite Jonin reserves, and holy shit. I've never seen chakra this potent since the Kushina Uzumaki came over to Kumo. Naruto, you have chakra that combines the Senju's bloodline of incredible potent chakra with the Uzumaki bloodline of potency. I can only deduce that you are Kushina Uzumaki's child. She is the only one with chakra that potent and it is because she is the daughter of the Shadame Hokage and Mito Uzumaki. You also have elite Jonin level reserves. I will have a friend of mine, train you in chakra usage, as well as you lightning and water affinities. Dari announced. Naruto nodded, and that is how things went for 6 months, but Naruto also trained with a cane and his father in a special training room that equated 1 hour to 1 week inside the room. 6 months later at the academy. 6 months has passed since Naruto started the academy, and Naruto learned 2 things. 1. Time passes quickly when one is immersed neck deep in training. 2. Kumo doesn't play, they expect you to be at least genin level by the time you graduate your first year in the academy. But Naruto learned a multitude in that simple 6 months since beginning the academy. From Karabi, Naruto learned the Notoryu sword style, but Kumo's version. He also learned and mastered his lightning and water human affinities, learning many justice to go with them. Naruto now knew many justice ranging from CA, with 3S class he created himself. At this point, he was incredible at ninjutsu. Naruto's growth rate, combined with Dragon's natural speed at growth rate, allowed Naruto to master Notoryu and Notoryu within a single week of almost non-stop training. He also learned the Goken, Reiken, and Mizuken Taijutsu skills that originated in Kumo. Apparently, when Konoha bested Kumo in the Third Great Shinobi War, the spoils were several lightning and water ninjutsus, as well as the Goken Taijutsu style. From Darui, he learned very little in terms of actual moves, but the power of these techniques more than made up for the lack of variety. Naruto was taught the Black Lightning techniques. A series of highly powered lightning techniques created by the Sandaime Reikage passed on to Darui, and now to Naruto. Naruto learned them very quickly, as well as creating his own. He knows a total of 23 of these, 6 of them being S-class. He also learned Darui's personal Kinjutsu and Taijutsu style. Raging Lightning. This style was based on speed and agility, sort of like the Reiken, but used Black Lightning to augment his speed and power, but also including more moves that were based on using the opponent's momentum and then hitting them devastatingly hard, using their momentum, your own momentum, and pure power. From a cane, Naruto learned how to utilize his tail to attack and augment it with fire. He also learned several of her Foxfire techniques thanks to her being within him when he made the shift to Dragon Hybrid. He learned her personal style, the Fox Fister Kitsuniken, which was based purely off of flexibility and power. It allowed for no need of incredible speed because one would simply twist around their opponent's Taijutsu and Kinjutsu, look for an opening, and strike with the force of a freight train. Naruto's naturally increased flexibility, strength, and speed made this Taijutsu incredibly devastating. Naruto also learned the claw version of the Kitsuniken, as well as a claw version of the Gyuuken with a few changes. 1. Being the fact that claws were being used, and because of Naruto's transcendence into a dragon hybrid, Naruto could naturally pinpoint the locations of Tenketsu and pressure points. 2. Being the fact that Naruto augmented his claws with mana, which like Yaki, is incredibly corrosive to humans, who are incapable of handling that potency of chakra. From Hanu, Naruto learned the most. He learned several Kinjutsu styles native to dragons, like Sword of the Destruction Dragon style, Dance of the Wind Dragon, Dance of the Fire Dragon, Dance of the White Fire Dragon, and Dance of the Black Fire Dragon. For the White Fire and Black Fire styles, those two elements can be substituted for the more powerful Heaven's Flame and Hell's Fire. He also learned the Taijutsu versions of these Kinjutsu styles, and they were quite the styles. The Taijutsu version of these styles was channeling your dragon elemental affinity into your appendages and striking with them, while making circular movements to both dodge and counter attacks as well. It is based off of strength, flexibility, and grace, jumping up and over attacks, landing attacks that deal spiral damage like a Rasengan. One would simply twist and bend around an opponent's attacks, jump over them, and corkscrew punch them, dealing almost direct damage to the innards, almost completely bypassing the skin. Naruto was also taught several dragon spells, or ninjutsu, for his dragonic affinities, as well as mastering his physical enhancements. He also mastered the use of arcane healing magic, learning hundreds of low-level healing spells. Naruto also learned several techniques for his Kinjutsu and Taijutsu. His most favorite Kinjutsu move of the Dance of the Wind Dragon was known as the Divine Wind. One would simply vanish from one side of the opponent to the back of the opponent while chanting this incantation. You heard it, didn't you, the sound of the Divine Wind? At that point, the blade would slide all the way to the tsuba with an audible click and the opponent would simply be erased. It manipulates the wind around the opponent, similar to its counterpart, the Trumizuchi. Naruto was also taught the Mumyo Jinpyu Ryu, a sword style that Hanu picked up while living in the Edo period. He said that 3 were masters of this style: Muramasa the Bladesmith, Red Eyes Kaio, and Kaishiro. Naruto learned a lot of techniques for this style as well. In Kinjutsu alone, Naruto was easily stronger than 2 cages without the use of his techniques or signature styles. However, this is a fact that must be hidden for obvious reasons. Naruto's Taijutsu was easily high cage level, maybe even enough to best 2 mid-level cages. Naruto's ninjutsu, without the use of dragon techniques, was mid-cage, but with dragon techniques, he is easily enough to best all 5 cages. Not to mention his strength unfortified was so strong that after 2 muscle restrainers, Naruto was still twice as strong as Tsunade of the Sannin. So Hanu gave him 6 in order to drop his strength to the level of a mid-chunin. Naruto's speed was also mid-chunin after 6 restrainers because with them off, he was as fast, maybe faster than the Hiraishin with natural speed alone. He was also taught Fuinjutsu for a few days to see how he would take to learn it. At Naruto's house, Mizuchi. Naruto yelled. A huge slicing wind came and utterly decimated the area. Again. Hanu barked. Another Mizuchi was created as Naruto went through the forms again. Naruto's true Mizuchi was also a counterpart to the pure wind version known as the Divine Wind. However, Naruto's is imperfect, for he has yet to reach the realm of nothingness, when one has truly gone past the limits of mind, body, and soul to achieve mastery over swords. Naruto currently uses an imperfect version of the technique, something that Hanu was trying to help him perfect. In fact, all the techniques Naruto was taught of this style were simply imperfect versions. Sweat beaded and fell down Naruto's shirtless form as he performed the katas perfectly, but still couldn't perfect the technique. As he finished, he sat down and meditated as he recovered his stamina and become in tune with the energy around him, something that was pertinent to achieve the realm of nothingness. Come on Sachi, it's almost time for the academy, you should definitely take a shower first. Hanu announced from the house. Hanu was attempting to help Naruto master the Mew Mew Jinpyu Ryu because it was much harder than the Mew Mew Saikyu Ryu, a style Naruto already mastered, and because he was a dragon, he instantly regenerates any blood used for this technique, allowing for the techniques to lose the edge that makes them forbidden. Naruto went inside and took his shower, completely rejuvenating himself and heading to the academy, passing a Kumo Chunin that he waved to on the way there. At the academy, alright everyone shut the fuck up. Instantly, the room was silenced and all the rest of the kids filed into their seats. Derry resumed speaking, today marks the middle of the year and so we will have a physical midterm, testing your kinjutsu for certain people, taijutsu, ninjutsu, and jinjutsu. Everyone find a partner, Naruto with me because he's a bit more advanced. Everyone chorused hi sensei. And found their partners. Naruto faced Derry and started the taijutsu test. Blue lightning instantly sprung to life around Derry and Naruto's feet and hands. Naruto smirked and launched off, starting the match with a low sweep that Derry effortlessly dodged by hand springing backwards, recognizing the old ploy. Jumping up allows for the user to hand spring upwards, landing the first hit. TCH. Naruto clicked his teeth as he used the momentum for the kick to spin around, lift up off the ground, and dash towards Derry, all without missing a beat. Derry noticed as he slid his right leg back and turned his body to the side with his right arm tucked in, the left poised and ready to block a potential kick. But Kumo's #1 most unpredictable ninja didn't kick, but simply used the momentum to hand spring up and over Derry, spinning around and launching an incredibly fast kick that almost landed where Derry he was faced. Derry dropped to the ground and countered with an on-the-ground high kick that impacted against Naruto's small torso. Naruto flew back a few meters, his own momentum used against him. Naruto gritted his teeth and recovered mid-air, landing in a crouching position. Black lightning flailed wildly as Naruto covered himself in the powerful lightning, eerily similar to the Raikage's Nintai armor. Naruto launched off at mind-boggling speeds and launched a straight kick that would have pulverized Derry had he not dodged. Derry launched himself over Naruto and kicked backwards, nailing the boy in the back of the head. However, when he felt that the boy wasn't falling over, he realized something was very wrong. Naruto had latched onto Derry's leg and spun, pulling Derry in with him, and just at the pinnacle of the spin, Naruto nailed Derry in the chest with a powerful kick, launching Derry several hundred meters, effectively ending the spar. The lightning died down as Derry came out, relatively scuffed up, but ginning rather wildly. Great job Naruto-kun, great counter to my kick, that was fantastic. Naruto beamed at the praise. Now for the Kinjutsu portion, Derry turned to the rest of the class, now it's time for the Kinjutsu portion of the day. Hajime. Naruto's eyes glinted dangerously as he pulled out an adachi taller than him. Derry pulled out a simple katana that sparked with black lightning. I should tell you that Kinjutsu is by far my best ninja skill sensei, be careful against me. Naruto stated ominously. Derry nodded and jumped the gun this time with 3 fast, precise strikes that crackled. Naruto simply smiled and dodged all 3, as if the strikes were in slow motion, which, to Naruto, were. When he unsheathed his adachi, it's almost as if Naruto he become a different person. He then simply swung his sword down and shouted Mizuchi. Naruto's blade glowed as hundreds of sharp large wind blades carved their way through the earth, hell-bent on slicing up Derry. Derry smirked and hefted his blade upwards and shouted, Inazuma Senkim. The lightning surrounding his blade flew off in the shape of a lion, rushing the many wind blades that made their way over to him. They collided creating a large explosion of energy, however, Derry never noticed that Naruto had several of the blades go invisible and as a result, the previously invisible one sliced into Derry. Airi's eyes widened as the now revealed blades of wind carved 3 long deep gashes in his torso, arms, and legs. Dari's eyes narrowed as he stabbed his blade in the ground, made a few hand seals to activate a low-level healing jutsu, and waved the hand over his torso and opposite arm. He then repeated the process to heal the other arm and legs. However, he didn't realize that the wounds weren't actually healing until Naruto smirked. Naruto waved his blade and spun it, readying his blade for his next move. He sprinted from his spot and lunged with his blade, and Dari raised his own blade to block Naruto's. But what came next surprised not only Dari, but also the students who had finished their matches. Naruto's blade changed direction, the blade literally bending around Dari's to slice against his shoulder. But Naruto didn't stop, he continued to lunge with the blade and bend it around Dari's blocks, continuing his deadly dance. Soon, Naruto let up and one hand sprung away from Dari, landing on his feet a few feet away from a heavily cut up Dari. The only thought running through Dari's head was, how the fuck did he do that? That technique was known as the dance of the long sword from the style of Miu Miu Saikyu Ryu. A dangerous style, isn't it? This is a move that is very powerful, so if you want to forfeit, you can. Naruto announced. Dari shook his head, wiped the look of awe from his face, and steeled his gaze. He rose again as black lightning wrapped around his sword once more. This is the final move, sensei. Suheryujin. Naruto declared as the water from the surrounding area rose to form several water dragons, or undine dragons, that swirled in a circle to form a wave that descended on Dari's form as he yelled out Inazuma Senku once more. Naruto's face tensed in anticipation and stress for keeping up the attack. The attack died down as the lightning crackled and faded, and as soon as the lightning was gone, Naruto let up the attack and launched himself towards Dari. The water receded and Dari's unconscious form came into view. Naruto, seeing this, instantly stopped and smirked, proud of himself, while the other kids looked upon with incredulous expressions. All of a sudden, Dari sputtered as water was forcibly ejected from his lungs and trachea. He finally came to and sat up, a light incredulous expression gracing his features, but pride running through his body. He was trying to get up, but the reopened wounds on his legs stopped him, as well as the gashes on his arms, thwarted any attempt to brace himself against the ground. Naruto rushed over as his sclera turned white, while the whites of his eyes turned black. Naruto muttered some of the arcane language and placed his now glowing hands over his sensei's chest, the wounds almost instantly repairing themselves. Dari stared wide-eyed at the repairing flesh wounds. Well, it's safe to say that you passed the Kinjutsu test, eh? And I guess you kind of passed the ninjutsu test too. The only test left is Ninjutsu. Dari spoke to Naruto. The rest of the students continued at their own paces, occasionally being checked up on by the test examiners. Dari popped a soldier pill into his mouth. It's time for the Gen test, Naruto. Naruto nodded as he formed the hand seals for a Genjutsu. Ninpo. Akuma no Shikushu. Naruto shouted as numerous black spots opened up in Dari's range of sight. Then, the black spots grew several tentacles that wrapped around Dari, restricting him and slightly constricting him as well. Dari's eyes widened at the very good usage of Genjutsu. As Dari flared his chakra, the tentacles slowly but surely faded out of existence. Dari nodded, a silent signal that he passed. Very good class, everyone is at least low gen and level ninja. I'm very proud of you all, but it's time for you all to leave and return to your homes. Sayonara. Dari said, his body gleaming with pride. At Naruto, Hanu, and Akane's home. As Naruto made his way home, he saw his father approaching and stopped walking. Naruto smiled at the serious look on Hanu's face. He only looks like that when he is giving me new things to work on. Sure enough, Hanu held 2 small battle fans. The rest of the year will be spent refining old skills, learning the Miu Daionryu style, as well as utilizing both your darkness and light elements. Oh, and hello. Hanu ended his spiel with a chipper greeting, prompting Naruto to face vault. Nevertheless, Naruto nodded, accepted the battle fans and readied himself for more training. 6 months later, these 6 months had gone great for Naruto. He had completely refined his Kinjutsu styles he was taught by Kurabi, as well as the ninjutsu and taijutsu. Naruto had mastered the raging lightning style Dari taught him, as well as learning all the black lightning text known to Kumo. He also fully mastered Miu Daionryu and the use of the battle fans for the style. He mastered his darkness, light, wind, fire, black fire, and white fire elements, while almost mastering hell and heaven's fire. He learned tons of dragon spells for his elemental affinities, as well as mid-level arcane healing magic. He also now adorned 2 5-feet Zambatas upon his back and an Adachi sat at his waist. The battle fan sat in a pouch opposite the kunai pouch. The day was October 10th, Naruto's birthday, and hopefully, the first one he could have without being beat within an inch of his life. Naruto took a deep breath, left the house, and sprinted towards the academy for the last day of academy until January for most. However, it was Naruto's last day in Kumo's academy period. As Naruto took a deep breath once more, he entered the classroom for the last time ever. Derry herded everyone to their seats. Alright everyone, today is very special day. Can anyone tell me why? Derry asked. Many of the students' heads were cocked to the side in confusion, but 3 students' hands went straight up. It's Naruto's birthday. A certain blonde, red, and black-haired trio yelled. Naruto blushed and willed himself invisible, not unlike a certain Hyuga heiress. Looks of understanding dawned on the students' faces as they all turned to look upon Naruto. Naruto makes 6 today. Congrats Naruto. Amoy said grinning. Naruto nodded and smiled back. I have a present for you. Naruto's eyes widened. As Amoy presented his gift, the other students ruffled for something to give to Naruto, for it was only custom that this is done. Kari, Derry, and Samui were instantly lined up behind Amoy, their gifts ready. Naruto opened the gift and his eyes started to tear up at what greeting him. A beautiful black and white dragon pendant with an opal and diamond within it greeted him. Naruto quickly thanked Amoy with a hug. Next came Kari, her gift was opened and Naruto was literally on the edge of crying as he observed a beautiful blue kimono with dragons intertwined that climbed upwards, only splitting when they reached the neck of the kimono, in this case, falling to both sides. Derry's gift did the deed. Naruto's eyes literally leaked tears as he gazed upon a picture of himself and Derry sparring. Samui's continued the flow of tears as the 6-year-old presented a hand-painted picture of Amoy with his lollipop, Kari, herself, and Naruto together in the playground. He gave Samui, Derry, and Kari huge hugs for their gifts and smiled as the rest of the kids offered their gifts and thanked them. After that, everyone returned to their seats as Derry returned to the front of the class to make his announcement. Unfortunately, today is the last day of academy, but next year, you will all be with Karabi-sensei except for one. Naruto will be leaving us as he and his family must move on. However, Naruto, we will keep you in our hearts as you embark once more on your journey. Many had their heads down, for they were distraught about the fact that next year will be missing Naruto. However, they said all their goodbyes happily. Soon, a tall red-haired woman in a beautiful red and gold kimono with kitsunes running across, stalked into the room. Sachi, it's time to leave. Akane spoke with a soft smile. Chapter 2. The Dragon in the Mist. On the way to Kiri. As Naruto, Akane, and Hanu made their way to Kiri in their original forms, all 4 of Akane's tails, Naruto's head, and Hanu's own twin tails, twitched. The silent message was passed throughout the trio. Someone's here. Naruto immediately whipped out his twin fans as Hanu and Akane dodged the kunai that flew from the treetops and embedded themselves in the ground right where the dragon and fox previously were standing. Looky here boys, we got a little boy and a couple with a bit of shinobi training. Get him. A shinobi with an I would hide 8 with a slash mark over it spoke as 4 ninja revealed themselves. Hanu and Akane narrowed their eyes and Akane spoke, they're all yours Naruto. Naruto nodded and sprung into action. He leapt into the air, opening his twin Tessen, or war fans, landing right in front of his enemies. The 4 ninja pulled out kunai in both hands and smirked in unison. Naruto simply slipped on his glasses as the earth surrounding him was pulled up, swirling around him in a sort of helix shape. The ninja looked on in confusion until one spoke, screw it, and leapt up and over Naruto, landing facing away from Naruto's back, and flung his kunai at Naruto's back. Naruto simply twitched one of his Tessen, and a large chunk of earth shot backwards at speeds, far surpassing the pathetic speed of the kunai, and slammed into the ninja's chest, forcing a glob of blood to fly out of the man's mouth as he flew backwards, slamming into a tree. Meanwhile, Naruto deftly caught the slow kunai by slamming the pommel of his now closed Tessen into the hole in the handle of the kunai. Naruto's glasses-covered eyes stared holes into the opponents as he swung his only open Tessen almost slowly, while speaking the words, happy come bullets. Suddenly, the speed of the swing of his fan sped up incredibly, almost a blur as barely visible arcs of gravitons shot out of the fan, slicing 2 more of the ninja deeply, almost instantly killing them. 3 down, 1 to go. Naruto spoke almost evilly. What happened to your bravado? The final ninja was literally shaking in fear, but somehow managed the hand seals he wanted. Kaiten. Dikakyu. A surprisingly impressive fireball shot out of the ninja's mouth as he spoke the name shakily. The flaming projectile slammed into Naruto's earth shield, creating a mildly impressive explosion. The smirk of victory on the ninja's face quickly dropped as a voice rang out, weak. Gravity ball crisis. As the smoke cleared, it revealed Naruto's floating in the air beside him and Naruto standing with his palms together, a huge ball of gravity hovering in front. The ninja's eyes widened and he turned to run, only for Naruto to launch the ball at his back. Naruto turned, grabbed, and sheathed his Tessen, as well as letting the earth drop in tandem with the explosion that rivaled that of the air-ranked Kiryuiden no Jutsu. Naruto swept the long hair out of his eyes and re-established the Jinjutsu as he huffed, so pathetic. Akane chuckled. Let's go, we've wasted enough time here. Akane announced. Naruto nodded, and the trio set off once more, shortly arriving at the gates of Kiri. Here to be new citizens. The guard of the gate inquired. The The trio nodded at once. The guard himself nodded as he handed them the registration papers. "We want to enroll our child in the academy for the second year," Hanu stated. The guard nodded and handed them those papers as well. "The day is the anniversary of our Mizukage's inauguration, so there will be a festival. The academy starts in 3 months." The guard informed them. Naruto's eyes brightened. "Great, what are we waiting for? Ikuzo!" Naruto screamed as he pumped a fist into the air. The 3 bystanders chuckled at the young Platinum's antics. The guard nodded once more and opened the gate. Naruto flew through the gates with Hanu and Akane walking slowly behind. "Naru-kun. Let's go to the festival together," Akane said. Hanu's eyes widened. "Wait, no, I want to go to the festive aisle." Hanu screamed after them. Akane and Naruto gave very Vulpine-like grins and vanished. "Damn it, Akane-chan." Hanu fell to his knees as he became a chibi and started to cry in tears. "Nand. Nand." Hanu cried even harder, so hard in fact, parents started to give him strange looks and usher their kids away from him. Hokage's tower. "Somehow I feel that someone has been stuck with doing paperwork like me. I feel your pain, my friend. I feel your pain." A certain old Hokage thought as he used a quick Akakyu to burn his desk and paperwork to ashes. "Hokage-sama." The Hokage's secretary came in with 2 other attendants, all with 6-foot-tall stacks of paperwork. "We thought you might need copies of your paperwork in case any were lost. However, because we didn't know which one you might lose, we made copies of all." "Oh. And here's the new paperwork too," the secretary announced as her stack of paperwork swayed. "Ooh." Sarutobi screamed to the heavens. "Nyandia. Do you hate me, Kami-sama?" Suddenly, Sarutobi whispered, "I won't let it conquer me, no." Sarutobi walked to the window and jumped through it. "I quit." Sarutobi's voice trailed off as he flew out the 6-story tower. The secretary and the attendant sweat dropped. "You can't quit, sir, you haven't picked a successor." "Kasuo." Sarutobi screamed as he magically appeared at the window once more. Back in Kiri. Meanwhile, while Hanu was still grumbling about retarded wives and rude kids, Akane and Naruto were off having a good time. This was a civilian festival, so they had cheap knockoff ninja games. Nevertheless, the two had a blast. Naruto's eyes widened when he observed a ball-throwing game. He immediately flew towards it, a chibi Akane in tow. He stopped right in front of the carny. "Then Ryo for 3 balls, kid," the carny said, looking to get some easy Ryo from the boy. "Sure." Naruto exclaimed as he handed the carny his money. The carny proceeded to give him the 3 balls and watch intently as Naruto held up 1 ball, examined it for a few seconds, and threw it. The carny's eyes popped out cartoon style when the ball not only nailed all of the targets, but continued through the backside of the booth, burning. The carny looked silently for a moment, grabbed a stuffed wolf, fox, and dragon, and handed them to Naruto, then he promptly fainted. "Yay. I beat the game. Did you see that, Akane-chan?" Naruto yelled, jumping up and down, while miraculously keeping all 3 stuffed animals stacked perfectly on his head. Akane shook her head with a smirk plastered upon it. The duo moved through the games, winning more than a few prizes. Soon, the festival was complete and the duo went home to get ready for Naruto's first day at the academy. At the apartment. As the duo arrived at the apartment, what they saw was a red-eyed and very sad Hanu working like a slave to finish the paperwork, all the while grumbling to himself. "I'm a Dragoni, shouldn't be subjected to this," he grumbled. The duo finally made their presence known very rudely. Akane slapped all 4 tails across Hanu's face as he cartoonly flew through the wall to his left, while Naruto walked over to him and continuously bitch-slapped the poor dragon. When they were done, Hanu was deep into blissful unconsciousness. "Stupid retard," Akane mumbled. As they left the 3rd member of the trio to sleep on the study's floor that night, the duo went to sleep in their nice comfortable beds. Next morning, at the academy. As the next morning had arrived, Naruto had eaten and was currently walking through the doors of the academy for the first time in Kiri. Now let's remember, Naruto is still short, so he's a bit shorter than the rest of his class, so while he is at 4'5", his classmates are easily 4'7". 2 gargantuan boys laked up to Naruto and pushed him outside before he could even get fully into the classroom. "Looks like a new 7-year-old. Time for the initiation, Kais," the biggest boy said. The other boy, Kais, sneered and settled into the basic taijutsu for Kiri, but the sneer instantly disappeared when Kais realized Naruto wasn't cowering in the slightest, in fact, he looked bored. The made Kais fume, so he rushed Naruto, his meaty fist already threatening to flatten Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes and simply touched a single finger to the fist, stopping it entirely, his finger not moving at all. It was one thing to stop a punch, but another to stop it so entirely that it wasn't even shaking. Naruto then moved his index finger to the top of the boy's fist, added 2 more fingers, and shifted his thumb to the front of the fist. He then pressed down on the top of boy's fist with the top fingers and said, "Kneel." Kais instantly dropped from the intense pain as he screamed in anguish. The other boy's eyes widened as he took in the scene and tried to rush Naruto from behind. Naruto simply turned 90 degrees as his hand flew out to meet the boy's forehead in a flick. The boy flew backwards, smashed into the wall, unconscious before he even hit the ground, making a crater in the ground and a body impression in the wall. Naruto backhanded the other boy as he met the same fate as his partner. In Tenzaku Town. On the outskirts of Tenzaku Town, two ladies that were making their way out of town suddenly stopped. The one on the left, a tall pig-tailed blonde with brown eyes, fair skin, and a small blue diamond upon her forehead, wore a grey kimono-style blouse with a blue shobi to hold it in place, with a blue pants, and a grass-green haori with the kanji for gamble upon the back. This was Tsunade Senju, member of the Densetsu no Sannin, and powerful healer. To her right was a medium-height black-haired woman with brownish-black eyes, fair skin, who wore a bluish-black kimono with a white trim and wide obi to hold it closed, and to finish her ensemble, she wore open-toed heels. This was Shizune, Tsunade's apprentice, accomplished medic and jonin of Konoha, and nephew of Tsunade's late lover Dan. In her arms was a small pink pig that winked when its master stopped. Tsunade suddenly sneezed violently. Then she once again sneezed violently, this time much more violently, so violently that snot and mucus shot out of her nose, covering her blouse in a layer of green. Shizune's eyes almost flew out of her head as she observed the spectacle. Shizune dropped the pig, Tuntun, as she started to laugh uproariously. Tuntun joined in oinking and rolling on the ground. Shizune dropped to the ground, tears pouring out of her eyes as she dropped to the floor, laughing. Tsunade turned red as she tried her best to wipe herself up. "Stop laughing at me, damn it!" Tsunade yelled. Shizune said, trying, but failing, to stop laughing at her sensei. "Oh, what am I kidding? It's hilarious, ha. Tsunade walked off. "But thank you, pahaha." Shizune stumbled after her, still laughing. Tuntun was literally rolling after the pair, oinking. Back at the academy, as Naruto wiped the dust from his hands, Naruto stalked back into the academy. All eyes turned to him as he walked into class with his trademark black leather jacket, black polo with a white collar, complete with intertwining black and white dragons. He also wore black boots with white jeans, replacing his black ones, with a ninja tool package on both legs. "No, are you?" the teacher asked. Mugenryu Naruto. Hajimemashite. Naruto spoke as he bowed. "Sensei, you might want to retrieve the two boys that threatened me and are now embedded in the walls outside. I will take my seat now." Naruto walked to the third row from the front, sitting right in between a young boy with long black hair who possessed the most beautiful face to ever belong on a male, and a boy with sharp teeth sticking out from the bottom of his top lip who possessed spiky blue hair. He wore black square glasses. "Heyo. I'm Chijiro." The boy with the blue hair spoke to Naruto. As he spoke, Naruto noticed all his teeth were sharp. "And I'm Haku." The boy beside him spoke stoically. "Hello." Naruto said simply with a smile. "Alright everyone. Calm down. For those who don't know, I'm your sensei Ao." The blue-haired jonin said. "Now to start the lesson." Naruto put his elbow on the desk and his chin on his open palm his side. End of the academy day, outside the academy. As Naruto walked home, he bumped into a very tall man, towering over him at 6'8". He had long brown hair with two bangs that hung out in front of his head. He wore a short black kimono with gold trim and a wide obi holding it in place. He wore grey pants with black sandals and two short swords in sheaths at his waist. You seem strong, teach me Kenjutsu Onagai." Naruto requested as he took in the attire of the ninja before him. Don't you know who I am? I'm part of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, Raiga Kurisuke. But I like your boldness, if you can beat me in an arm wrestling contest, I'll teach you Kenjutsu." Raiga sneered. As the crowd gathered, some random chunin put a table in front of the two, as well as 2 chairs beneath their butts. Many were muttering things like Raiga is so cruel, no kid can beat him in arm wrestling, hell, no one in the mist can beat him, and Raiga is gonna crush that kid, I feel sorry for him. Nevertheless, Naruto wasn't deterred in the slightest, he wrapped his small hand around Raiga's large hand and set his elbow on the table. "Ready? Set. Hajime." Some random civilian yelled. Naruto steeled his gaze and tightened his fist as the contest began. Raiga smirked and started to push, but the smirk vanished as he realized something, Naruto's fist wasn't moving. This time, Naruto smirked as he pushed against Raiga's fist, slowly pushing the battle into his favor. Soon, Naruto let out a yell and slammed Raiga's fist down onto the table. The silence and tension that permeated the air could be cut with a butter knife. Then, all of a sudden, it vanished as the crowd erupted in cheers. Naruto released Raiga's fist as he stood up and spoke, "Will you teach me now?" "Yes. You won fair and square." Raiga said. "Get on my shoulders. I'll show you where I and the rest of the swordsmen of the mist train. Every day after the academy, I want you to come here and train with the 7 swordsmen of the mist in water ninjutsu, taijutsu, and kenjutsu. To beat me in arm wrestling is incredible, so I'm giving you a bit more in our deal, kid." Naruto looked on wide eyes before nodding and jumping up onto Raiga's shoulders. Raiga sped off towards the secret training ground of the Seven Swordsmen. Training ground 48, exclusively for Naruto and the swordsman, Sugoi. Naruto said as his eyes sparkled. There in front of Raiga and Naruto was a large glistening lake with a waterfall. To Naruto's left, there was a large forest area that seemed to be used for stealth and hunting. To his right, there were training posts in front of a large villa-style home that lay at the edges of the training field. Get used to the view Gaki, cause you'll be here every day until you leave or graduate. Raiga smirked as he set the boy down. Who's here? 6 pairs of feet sounded against the ground as the remaining swordsmen revealed themselves, swords drawn. The voice belonged to Mangetsu Mizuki, the wielder of Hiromekure. Mangetsu, this Isam. Raiga scratched his head sheepishly. Mangetsu shook his head and pinched the bridge of his nose. I am Naruto Uzumaki Mugenryu, Hajimemashite. Naruto bowed. Mangetsu and Kisam's eyes narrowed while the remaining 4 nodded their heads in approval. What Kenjutsu style are you familiar with? Kisam asked, his shark-like eyes narrowing further. Naruto's eyes also narrowed. But then he grinned. I have no idea what you're talking. Yes you do. There was no way a kid like you could have bested Raiga in an arm wrestling match if you didn't have a shred of Kenjutsu training. Mangetsu called out. You caught on quickly, Mangetsu Mizuki, wielder of the Hiromekure, Kijin no Sairai, and unofficial leader of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist, and you caught on as well Kisam Hoshigaki, wielder of the Samehada Kirigakure, no Kajin tailed beast without a tail, second most powerful member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. My charade wasn't ill-mannered however. Naruto spoke in an eerie voice. His voice rang of sincerity, but also mysteriousness. You seem very well educated for a Gaki of the mere tender age of 6. Spoke the man farthest from Mangetsu on his right. The man had brown hair with his hide in a bandana form over his head, with a brown topknot sticking up. He peered at Naruto with his grey eyes. My father was very adamant about me studying the bingo book. But I was promised training. And I assure you I have no ulterior motive. Naruto said, still bowed. Raiga brightened at this and took the time to introduce everyone, since Naruto already seemed to know about their sword names. 10 minutes later, alright, since you have had Kenjutsu training, let's see what you got Gaki. Jinin spoke. Hi. Naruto stood at attention. Mama, I won't be testing you Gaki, someone else will. You seem confident. I am. Naruto whispered quietly as he crouched and spun on his heels, his katana unsealing from his wrist, his blade shooting up to meet the far larger Samehada. Kisam's eyes widened momentarily before he disconnected from Naruto's blade, both shooting backwards, Naruto shooting much further backwards than Kisam. That was all Kisam said as he launched himself towards his new apprentice. Naruto launched off as well, falling instinctively into the raging lightning style, black lightning already sparking off the blade. Everyone in the vicinity stood there shocked as Naruto matched Kisam move for move, the lightning constantly being replenished as Samehada stole the chakra. Raging bolt. Naruto yelled as the lightning around his sword intensified and consumed his body in a flash of black. Naruto zoomed towards Kisam, while all he could see was a black spark. However, somehow, Kisam sidestepped the attack and shaved his blade across Naruto's side, throwing off course, sending him straight into the ground. Everything was utterly silent as the 7 swordsmen, minus Kisam who was grinning after a good fight, stood there stupefied. Mangetsu's eyes sparkled as he realized a pure talent in the boy there were to be training. I think that's good for today Mangetsu said. Naruto up and brushed himself off. Aw, I wanted to fight some more. But I guess I'll get to fight tomorrow, so Jana. Back at the apartment, where were you? Akane asked as soon as Naruto returned. Training with the 7 swordsmen of the mist. I want to train with father. Where is he? In the study. Are you learning how to handle his Zanbatsu? Akane inquired. Probably, today we did nothing but spar. But since no one in the 7 swordsmen even uses a katana, I will most likely learn how to use a longsword, shortsword, and Zanbatsu. Naruto replied as he unsealed the rest of his blades and settled in on the couch. Interesting. I'll get you something to drink. Is tea fine? Naruto nodded. He's making you twin greatswords you know. One's to match his. But smaller of course. Akane chuckled. That's great. Naruto replies. I'll head to the study really quick. Call me when the tea is ready, Jana. Naruto dashed off downstairs. Akane shook her head. I don't know where he gets all that energy. But Naruto had arrived at the study forge in time to watch his ebony-skinned father finish cooling the 2 6-feet greatswords. He watched as his dad chanted a spell that effectively used his own blades as a model to forge Naruto's. Afikudo. Your swords are just about done. I have to imbue my magic into it so that it will grow according to your own growth. Hanu put down his hammer, removed his goggles and his gloves, and chanted once more. The tea is Riayati. Akane yelled from the kitchen. Crap, that's for me, and thanks for the swords. Maybe when we're both done, we can squeeze some training in tonight. Naruto smiled warmly. His father did the same. "Hey kiddo, now go drink Akane-chan's tea before she gets pissy." "I do not get pissy." Akane screamed from the kitchen as a pan that somehow curved from her position in the kitchen was thrown at Hanu's head. Somehow, it hit its mark. Swirls comically appeared in Hanu's eyes as he tipped over and hit the ground, slept. "Baka," Naruto huffed as he headed into the kitchen, the greatsword still on the forge, although everything was off. In the kitchen, Akane was setting the plates onto the table as Naruto turned the corner and made his way to the table. Akane smiled as the crumpets were sat on the plates and she put a cup of tea in front of Naruto. "Thanks Akane-nichan." He spoke as he crossed his left leg over his right while bringing his cup of tea to his lips. Akane smirked but raised an eyebrow at the new suffix. "What brought on the change in suffix Naru-kun?" Akane spoke as she too brought her cup to her lips. "I just thought that you were more of an angry sister than simply a girl to me," Naruto said stupidly. A huge Oni mask appeared behind Akane as her hair grew flames. "Care to repeat that?" Akane whispered menacingly. Not really, I'm gonna go now." Naruto sweated as he disappeared. "No you're not." Akane screamed as her tail launched out and grabbed Naruto on the leg as he attempted to leave. "Fuck, damn it someone help me." Naruto screamed as the author chuckled evilly. The next day, "Aki?" Hanu called from the kitchen. Hanu shook his head when he didn't receive a response from Naruto. He headed upstairs when a mischievous grin appeared on his face. He chuckled as he raced downstairs back into the kitchen. He grabbed a huge tub, filled it with ice and water, and raced back upstairs, miraculously not spilling a drop. He snuck into Naruto's room, whispered, "Wakey wakey Naru-chan." When he got no response, Hanu dropped the tub of water and ice on top of Naruto. "Ah!" came Naruto's scream as the ice cubes and water hit him full on. Reflexively, Naruto swung his leg upwards and smashed it into Hanu's baby maker. I came the soprano reply, "Don't forget to get to the academy and training with the 7 swordsmen." Those were Hanu's last words as he descended into painful unconsciousness. Academy. As Naruto jauntily walked through the door, Chijiro rose to greet Naruto and an eyebrow rose to his hairline as he observed Naruto walking through the door with a full-on vulpine grin, wider, in fact, than the legendary grin of the Cheshire Cat, an. As impossible as it may seem, but hey, this shit is fanfiction. The fuck you expect? What's got you so happy Naruto-san? Haku asked, walking up behind Chijiro. Okay, the two leaned in as Naruto beckoned them to listen, "That's a secret." The ground literally shook as even the eternally stoic Haku face faltered. Naruto chuckled and took his seat as the sensei walked in. Alright, everyone get back to your seats." Ao said. "Now to begin class." Naruto sighed and readied himself for an intensely boring day. After class, as Naruto left the academy, he saw Raiga and Chijiro waiting on him. As he walked up to them, he adopted a puzzled look. "Why is Chijiro here?" "I'm here because I've finally been accepted to be an apprentice to Mangetsu and accepted to be the next wielder of Hiramekure," Chijiro said excitedly. Naruto beamed as his smile flashed his pearly whites. "Congrats Chijiro, guess that means you'll be training with Mangetsu Niasen too, huh?" "Yeah. It's going to be so much fun. But I heard from Raiga-sama that training is gonna be like hell." "You really think so?" Chijiro replied, getting a bit worried. "Yes, training is very difficult but very fun. So shall we go Raiga Niasen?" Raiga chuckled at his new suffix. "Sure Gaki, get on." Raiga held out his arm for Naruto to jump on and then he deposited the silver and black-haired boy atop his head. Chijiro got a piggyback ride as they raced towards the training area of the swordsman. Training ground 48. The trio arrived as the remaining swordsmen came out of the house. Naruto leapt off of Raiga's head and brought out his katana and greatswords. He placed the greatswords to the side and strapped the adachi to his back as he went off with Zabuza, Kisame, and Chmjkrm to the right, while Mangetsu went with Chijiro to the left. The remaining swordsmen unsheathed their blades and began a battle royal within the middle of the training field. With Naruto, "Alright boy, let's fight," Kisame said, grinning menacingly. Naruto grinned back, unsheathing his blade, him, and launched himself at Kisame even before Samehada was fully unsheathed. Kisame's eyes widened at the boy's speed. He leapt up and over Naruto and fully unsheathed before engaging Naruto in combat. He launched a wide swing, one so powerful that it lifted Naruto up into the air. In mid-air, Naruto managed to backflip and righted himself, landing on his feet to prepare for the next bout of combat. He fell into his raging lightning style, black lightning saturating his black, and he called out his technique. Inazuma Senki. The black lightning flew off his blade in the shape of a large lion that was quickly dodged by Kisame as he launched himself at the stationary boy. Naruto waited until the last second, in which the ebony lightning encompassed his entire form, and he shouted, "Raging Bolt." Kisame's eyes widened as he remembered the move from his last spar with Naruto. Fuck, Kisum muttered as he no time to dodge or even swing his sword to absorb the chakra, and Naruto slammed full force into the tall blue frame of Kisum. Oof, he said as he flew back, skittering across the ground, landing unceremoniously, completely unconscious. Naruto dispelled his lightning and sheathed his blade as he got nods and claps of approval. From then on, the days were quite repetitive for Naruto. He woke up, got dressed, went to the academy, and then went with Chijiro and Raiga to the training ground. This went on for about 8 months until the 7 swordsmen of the mist declared Naruto's training finished. Naruto was now skilled in using water jutsus and ice jutsus, as Naruto had found a trainer from the Kuri clan to help him master his ice manipulation. He mastered the use of Zanbatus, greatswords, longswords, and broadswords, like the Kubikurumch. At the apartment, as Naruto walked through the door, Hanu approached him seriously. "It's time to leave." Hanu spoke. Naruto's eyes widened, but he sent a note to his friends, and Hanu and Akane packed everything up. "I've already told the Mizukage that we will be coming back soon enough, so we're free to go without being listed as traitors." Naruto nodded, and the trio left silently. "On the road, we left 4 months earlier too, San," Naruto pointed out. "Yeah, it's because I want you to learn something known as Dance of the Shikigami, in which you turn yourself and your clothes into millions of pieces of paper you can control at will. It's also a style based off of using origami to attack your enemies, going so far as to create paper wings, paper hurricanes, even paper golems with different elemental paper. However, I have to take you to aim for this. Because I can only allow another 6 months of time in water country, including summer time, I had to take you here immediately. Hanzo and Conan, the one you will be learning from, are good friends of yours, and Hanzo is willing to give you the Salamander contract in 18 months, unless you want the European Dragon contract from me, the Foxes from Akane, or any other contracts you might stumble across." Hanu replied. "Can I sign more than one summoning contract?" Naruto inquired. This time, it was Akane who answered. "Yes, but only if the bosses of the summoning contract agree. However, I am the boss of the Fox contract, so I'm good with any other contract you might want to sign. However, even I agree, that doesn't mean that you can automatically summon, because both bosses have to agree before you can sign 2 contracts, but if they do, you can theoretically sign any contract you come across." She lectured before Naruto nodded, satisfied. At the gates of aim, the trio finally hit the gates of aim, but before they could go in, the trio ran into 2 men. "Halt and state your business." Hanu chuckled at the standard protocol. "I'm Hanu, this is my son Naruto, and my wife Akane. We are here for 6 months to observe how AIM functions, as well as train with a friend of mine. Is Hanzo in?" The eyes of the guards widened considerably as they heard the introductions. The 2 nodded at Hanu's question and ushered the 3 inside the village to the tower of the Amikage, AN. "I do that because only the leaders of the 5 great hidden villages are officially named cages, so the title Amikage is merely a formality and sign of respect." In the tower, Hanzo was just about ready to summon a salamander to drench the paperwork he had, even though he wasn't even an official cage, when his secretary told him that there were 3 people waiting for him. "Send them in." He spoke exasperated. However, his mood skyrocketed when he saw the guests, one in particular. "Hanu, old friend, how are you doing?" Hanu chuckled at the complete 180 in mood. "Quite well, Hanzo-kun. This is my son Naruto, and my wife Akane." The 2 bowed at the mention of their names. "Nice. Now then, not that I'm ungrateful, but what brings you to my humble abode?" Hanzo queried. Hanu's mood took a more serious light. "We're here for some training. I would like for Naruto to train with Conan, with her teaching him her dance of the Shikigami style of fighting, so that Naruto can both get stronger, but also pass on the legacy of this fighting style." "Sure, so when will the boy decide on his summoning contract?" "In a year's time. After his journey to Iwa, Naruto will have decided, for he likely will have more information on summoning." Akane spoke up. Hanzo nodded at this. "Alright. Conan, come in here." He screamed. A beautiful pale girl in a simple pale blue kimono walked in. The kimono had little origami cranes on it and was held together by a mono-colored white belt. She was maybe 5'6" with short blue hair. She had piercing grayish eyes with blue eyeshadow. Underneath her lips had a small pearl piercing. "Sheesh. You don't have to scream, I was right outside the door," Conan said. "I heard everything and I'll teach Naruto-san, but I warn you now. I'm a slave driver." Naruto nodded at this. "So when would you like to start?" Naruto asked, staring her in the eyes, his vibrant blue meeting her bored gray. Then, she smirked viciously. "Now." She screamed, paper shuriken flying out of her long sleeves, almost hitting Naruto as the 2 raced out of the tower. At the training field, as Conan chased Naruto, she somehow chased him right into the training field that they wanted to be in. "Alright." Conan said as she stopped chasing him. "I will teach you the dance of the Shikigami style. The first this is to layer non-elemental chakra upon your body, imagine it like paper, and then absorb the paper back into your body. Then your skin should turn pale and your skin start to flake off like paper. Naruto did as was told and the effects were instantaneous. Naruto felt the skin flake off and hover around him. Conan nodded in approval and spoke once more after Naruto got the hang of it and was able to turn his body into paper at a moment's notice, almost immediately. Next, project your chakra and mold the paper into what feels like a kunai, then throw it at me. You'll find that this technique, paper kunai, is far sharper than a regular kunai, almost on par with uninfused with wind chakra in fact. Few hours later, as Naruto got a hang of the technique, Conan continued their training mercilessly, already ordering him to do the next technique. The next technique is called paper chakram. In this technique, you form a disc of paper and sharpen the edges, and then throw the chakram at people, and the chakram will spin with incredible speed. This technique actually surpasses that of the wind-enhanced kunai and shuriken, and can even rotate so fast that when you throw the chakram at a wind-infused kunai or shuriken, the chakram can tear throughout the kunai or shuriken with ease, not even stopping or faltering in the slightest. Try that for a few days till you master it, and then we will be moving on to techniques such as the paper clone, the paper golem, the paper golem army, and my ultimate trump card, the paper person of God technique, in which billions of explosive tags, fire, lightning, water, earth, and wind-emitting tags, and poison tags are released into a giant trench in which they explode continuously for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how much chakra I have left, that can be used to generate billions of tags. Alright. Conan finished the lecture with a question. When she received the nod, she too nodded and then walked off, leaving Naruto to his devices one would say, or simply leaving him to practice that technique. 6 months later, the final student master battle was taking place as Naruto fought and attacked Conan, paper shuriken flying out of his sleeves. Conan dodged and she sent a paper crane at breakneck speeds towards Naruto, but paper quickly flew out of his sleeves and formed a barrier protecting him efficiently. While Conan was proud that Naruto was doing so well, she was holding nothing back and so she capitalized on his lack of sight to materialize her paper wings and activated her technique. Shikigami dance. She yelled, flapping her paper wings, a shredding tornado of paper forming and racing towards the barrier. It tore straight through the barrier, but she found that Naruto was no longer there. All of a sudden, she heard a yell. Pain. Paper golem. A giant golem, twice her height ran towards her, the fire seals evident on the golem. Conan remembered when Naruto discovered this ability. Ninjutsu. Flashback no Jutsu. 5th month of training. Naruto was training after dark with Conan and was experimenting on the types of paper he could use with the paper ninjutsu and tried incorporating a fire-emitting seal on a piece of paper and utilized his paper skills to replicate the seal. Conan suggested that he incorporate it into a golem of some sort. Naruto's eyes widened as he realized what she said. He formed the replicated seals into a golem and called it Kaiten. Paper golem. Naruto's first test went almost perfect, but he realized he couldn't pour any chakra into the beast, lest his chakra set off the seals and burn the training field to the ground preemptively. So Naruto decided that because chakra was needed in order to power the golem, he would replace half of the seals with fire-draining seals, so that as the fire seals were activated, so were the fire-draining seals, therefore draining all of the fire-emitting seals, and when he wanted to expel the fire from the fire-draining seals, he would simply yell Fuinkai to release the fire within the seals. Once Naruto figured that out and worked out the perfect balance, his experiment worked perfectly and he tried it for all of the base elements and a few sub-elements like ice and scorch. But because he didn't have much practice with scorch, he simply focused on the ice golem and things went swimmingly. Flashback high. Conan looked warily at the golem as it raced towards her. As she was considering her choices, a thought came to her. Some paper came off of Conan's arms as she prepared her technique. VP Cat no Ken, AN. Paper cutter sword right. With a newly formed doubled-edged blade, Conan somehow sliced through the golem and all of the flames that were going to be emitted were sucked into the blade. Then Conan swung again and released the same amount of flames back into the direction of Naruto. What she didn't count on however was the new scream from Naruto. Raiden. Paper golem. She froze as a golem hugged her and released the seals, shocking her into submission. I think that's the end of this match, what do you think Conan-sensei? I think you're ready. She spoke after recovering. You're ready for this blade. This blade is now as the paper-cutting sword and has the ability to suck up the 5 basic elements and reflect them back at the opponent. However, it can only handle absorption up to 20 mid-level S-rank jutsu before you must release the energy, otherwise the blade will implode and all of the energy you sucked up will be reflected upon your person. After that, the blade will never form again. Forming it is quite easy, simply form the sword from your paper. Its edge is equal to that of the edge of the Kusanagi no Tsurugi and won't be cut by it. Be careful and handle this blade well. Conan finished with a smile. Thanks so much Conan-sensei. Naruto said while marveling at the blade. So my training's finished. It was an honor training with you sensei, and I will be sure to pass your teachings on to another who is willing to learn from me. Thanks a lot. Naruto said with a small tear escaping. How long is it till you have to leave, Naruto-kun? Conan asked. Naruto looked at Hanu and he shrugged, giving the number 2. Naruto brightened and looked back at Conan. We have 2 weeks until we have to leave, why? Naruto asked, a bit curious. Conan smiled widely as she stared at Naruto. I want to introduce you to the 2 people closest to me besides Hanzo. Conan smiled and ushered the trio to the outskirts of the village, where a single patch of the village wasn't covered in rain. This confused Naruto, after all, AIM was known especially for its unrelenting rainstorm, so how could there be a piece of the village uncovered by the rain? Naruto thought on it no longer, simply chalking it up to the fact that someone must be forcefully stopping the rain. He had no idea just how correct he was. As they neared a house, Conan ran up to a cottage looking simply like a small shack and knocked on the door. Knock knock knock. The door opened and Nagato and Yahiko stared out the door. Nagato was a fair-skinned boy that was about 5'7½". He had dark crimson hair, his bangs swept in front of his right eye, hiding it from view. But from the visible eye, one could see that his eye was abnormal. It was grayish-purple with a ripple pattern of 4 concentric rings around a black pupil. There was no white within his visible eye, this was the Rinnegan. Yahiko was a slightly shorter boy of 5'5" who possessed bright orange hair that stuck up in spikes. He had bright blue eyes that held an aura of serenity. Both boys were wearing a dark gray short haori, with sleeves only reaching the elbow, and a lime green wide trim. Both had long-sleeved fishnet shirts underneath with dark gray-black pants to match their harass. They suddenly smiled and opened the door fully as they ushered the quartet inside. As soon as they got inside, Yahiko broke the silence. So what are you guys doing here? Yahiko deadpanned. Conan snapped out of her trance. Oh yeah, I wanted to introduce you to my prodigious pupil Naruto, who has mastered the dance of the Shikigami paper style and has received my blade. She said as she pointed to Naruto. These are his parents. Akane and Hanu. Here she pointed at the 2 respectively. The 2 boys became wide-eyed. Their eyes, everyone looked at Naruto as he whispered those words. Those eyes stopped the rain. Nagato and Yahiko's eyes widened as their brains worked on overload, trying to prevent Nagato's secret from getting out. Finally, Nagato relented. How did you know that? Nagato asked. I noticed the rain was stopped over here and then I sensed chakra in your eyes as well as the same chakra far above us. I simply put 2 and 2 together. Naruto replied nonchalant. Yahiko and Nagato looked at the 7-year-old boy in disbelief. How did a little boy possess analytical skills on the level on a seasoned jounin? It was unbelievable. Well, these 2 can only stay for the week as they have to get going. Conan spoke once more. Everyone nodded their heads, and Nagato and Yahiko went off to prepare the 2 guest rooms for Hanu and Naruto, and Conan and Akane. 1 week later, the trio was once again on the road as they finished saying their goodbyes to Nagato, Yahiko, Hanzo, and Conan. As the trio ventured on, they came upon a nice open area. Hanu scanned the area quickly. Akane, construct a chakra and an invisibility barrier please. Naruto and I will be sparring here and we don't want anyone else to feel the mana emanating from this area. Hanu instructed. Akane nodded and did what he said to do. Hanu unsealed Naruto's finished Zanbatas from a scroll he had on him and tossed them to Naruto. Naruto got the message and strapped them onto his back as his eyes sharpened and he gave his father a nod of thanks. An. This is my first long battle scene. Tell me how I do poor favor. Hanu manifested his Koppish and readied them for the battle as Naruto unsheathed both of his blades, gave them a good long look before getting into a stance that was a mix of the Mew Mew Jinpu Ryu style and the Naotoryu style. Both looked at Akane, then locked eyes with each other again as Akane's hand rose. Hajime! Akane shouted. The 2 raced forward at high jounin speeds and clashed blades. Both jumped back and in interest of time, prepared their spells verbally. Naruto whispered his spells as an arcane spell matrix appeared before him and he shouted, Draconic White Twister. From the center of the spell matrix, a white twister in the shape of a Chinese dragon complete with red eyes and demonic teeth emerged from the matrix and was sent roaring towards Hanu. Hanu simply sharpened his gaze and spoke a wop or a word of power. Split. With that simple command, the twister split right down the middle, both halves hitting the outside of the barrier before dissipating. Hanu put the ends of the Koppish together and a bright light shone. When the light died down, Naruto's eyes narrowed at the new blade Hanu held. He held the blade of silver, Ginto. Hanu put the blade at his side, laid his other hand on the hilt of the blade, and spoke. Iedo. Ichi. Sachoku, art of drawing the sword. 1. Vertical. The ground beneath Hanu tore apart as Hanu's hand blurred, drawing the blade. A huge wave of wind and energy erupted from the ground heading quickly at Naruto. I think not. Jutsuga Tenshu. An equally large wave of pure spiritual energy erupted from the tip of Naruto's left Zanbatsu. Naruto then launched himself at Hanu at speeds that would make Guy jealous and clashed blades with Hanu once more. The two started a high-speed battle, one that was so fast in fact that Akane only saw them appear once or twice, only to once again race at each other. Pitch Armageddon. Naruto's voice sounded. Dissipate. Came Hanu's call and Naruto's wave of black fire petered out. A few more high-speed clashes and Naruto flew backwards from one particularly powerful hit from Hanu. Naruto sheathed his blades at a Tetragон form and raced towards Hanu once more, his fists alight with black lightning. Hanu narrowed his eyes as a purple gale surrounded his fists to deal with the lightning. The two clashed fists. Naruto launched a straight jab at Hanu's face which was quickly dodged. Then, like a monkey, Hanu used Naruto's arm to swing himself upside down and place his hands upon the ground. Then Hanu pushed off the ground with his arms and twin-kicked Naruto in the face while using the momentum to flip backwards and land on his feet. The Ginto once again flashed as Hanu attempted to press his advantage. But Naruto wasn't having it. A yell of "back in 30. Shitatsu Sansen" came from Naruto and Hanu cursed. "Kuzo?" Hanu yelled as he was hit and pinned to a tree. "How did you learn Kido?" "Akane Nichin taught me." Naruto flashed a vulpine grin. Hanu's eyes narrowed and he glared at Akane who was walking away whistling innocently. "I wouldn't look away if I were you, father." "Ye lord. Mask of blood and flesh, all creation, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. On the wall of blue flame, inscribe a twin lotus. In the abyss of conflagration, wait at the far heavens. Padm 73. Smren Katsui." Hanu's eyes widened as the spell was released from Naruto's hand and the azure flames raced towards him. He quickly broke out of the binding spell and jumped away just in time to avoid becoming ashes thanks to the ridiculously powerful flame. His wings popped out with a whoosh and launched himself up into the air right in front of the sun. He surrounded himself with a purple energy and raced downwards towards Naruto. Dragon Rush. AN. I know I took that from Pokemon, which I also don't own. Bolt Strike. AN. Another one. Naruto was covered in black lightning with traces of yellow lightning, even more heavily encased than its parent jutsu, Raging Bolt, and launched himself at his father. The two clashed with such ferocity and power, and many civilians would die of heart attacks just witnessing the event. It truly looked like a clash of gods. The purple and black yellow intermingled and created a ball of pure energy that grew larger and larger the longer the two clashed with each other. Akane simply sat there in amazement at the amount of power being generated. It was definitely enough to destroy a small village. Soon, the ball of energy shrunk and directed its energy on the smaller of the two, and the small figure that was Naruto was launched out of the energy sphere and sent crashing into the lake on the other side of the field. Hanu landed and spoke. "One more attack to decide the winner, Naruto." Naruto appeared in front of him, Zanbatus drawn, looking fairly okay with a few burns from the backlash of the energy ball that were already quickly healing. "Sure." Both closed their eyes as spell matrices appeared all around them. All of a sudden, both pairs of eyes snapped open. Naruto yelled Haramageddon no Urik. Thousands of black and white dragons burst from the matrices around Naruto and combined to form a gargantuan dragon, twice Akane's full Kyuubi form. The dragon was a pure black dragon with white tattoos on it and wide eyes with a thin slit black pupil in the middle. Hanu yelled, "Rik no Kami no Rikuiemu." The clouds parted to reveal another dragon, of size to that of Naruto's dragon. This dragon was deep purple with triangular scales that rippled as it descended towards the dragon Naruto summoned forth. This dragon was also a Chinese dragon with black piercing eyes with a thin white pupil, a stark contrast to the eyes of the dragon Naruto created. The two dragons flew towards each other and clashed, their bodies parallel to the ground so that whichever dragon won would clash into the creator of the first dragon. As the dragons shot a beam wider than themselves, the blast was blinding, but when it settled down, a cry of pain was heard, the thump of a body sounded, and the dragons were gone. Naruto had lost. He fought bravely and well. Truly something to be admired. But he still needs a lot more training to even force you to expend as much mana as I have Yaki in a fight. Akane said as she healed the unconscious Drake. He did do wonderful. When he wakes up we start on our journey again. Hanu spoke as he observed the utterly ravaged battle scene. Akane finished healing Naruto, hefted him upon her shoulders and spoke again. "Where is our next destination?" "Iwagakure no Sado." Hanu said. "You'll enjoy it there. I hear they have two Jinchuriki there. One is a master of steam boil release or Futon Jutsu. The other is a master of lava magma release jutsu or Yoten. They also have explosion release or Bakuten and a scorch release or Shakuten user there. They have a lot to offer." "Indeed they do. Let's not forget that Tsuchikage is also a user of dust release or Jinten." Hanu said while contemplating all of the tour training Naruto will have to go through while there. "Damn what hit me?" Naruto said waking up on Akane's shoulder. "I will if you curse again." Akane said menacingly. "Anyway, we're on our way to Iwagakure no Sado. If you can walk, I'll put you down." "Hi, I can walk." Naruto said. Well then, let's get to it then. Once again, the three set off towards Iwa. Iwa's gate. Who are you and what are you doing here? Yelled a man in red armor next to an old man who, oddly enough, had pure crimson hair, not a strand of gray hair could be found. Both took up a fighting stance as Naruto, a cane, and Naruto did as well. Everyone's eyes sharpened as they launched themselves into battle. At that moment, the scene blurred out and three words came up on the bottom of the scene, to be continued. Chapter 3. The Rock, Training, and the Izayakana Hanu Perusu, Vivid Flame Pulse, my creation. Last time, where is our next destination? Iwagakure no Sado. Hanu said. You'll enjoy it there. I hear they have two Jinchuriki there. One is a master of steam boil release, or Futon Jutsu. The other is a master of lava magma release Jutsu or Yoten. They also have explosion release or Bakuten, and a scorch release or Shakuten user there. They have a lot to offer. Indeed they do. Let's not forget that the Tsuchikage is also a user of dust release or Jinten. Hanu said while contemplating all of the tour training Naruto will have to go through while there. Damn what hit me? Naruto said waking up on Akane's shoulder. I will if you curse again. Akane said menacingly. Anyway, we're on our way to Iwagakure no Sado. If you can walk, I'll put you down. Hi, I can walk. Naruto said. Well then, let's get to it then. Once again, the three set off towards Iwa. Iwa's gate. Who are you and what are you doing here? Yelled a man in red armor next to an old man who, oddly enough, had pure crimson hair, not a strand of gray hair could be found. Both took up a fighting stance as Naruto, Akane, and Naruto did as well. Everyone's eyes sharpened as they launched themselves into battle. At that moment, the scene blurred out and three words came up on the bottom of the scene, to be continued. Present. As the five clashed, a question presented itself within Naruto's mind. As the five separated, Naruto slid out of his battle stance and spoke. Who are you two and why are you attacking us? But those words, Hanu and Akane slid out of their stances as well. They got a good look at the two who were still ready to fight. On the left stood an enormous man, easily a head taller than Hanu himself. The man stood 6'8" and wore red armor with a red kasa, conical straw hat. On top of his armor he wears a black guy with torn off sleeves. Underneath the armor that covers the bottom half of his face, he wears a white cloth that covers the sides of his head. Underneath the kasa, he wears his forehead protector on a black cloth underneath the white one. He also wears a bronze-colored ring over his armor. He has light brown eyes and carries a furnace on his back. This was Han, the Jinchuriki of Kunkuo, the Gobi. On the right stood a man of about 6'1" who had red hair, a mustache and a beard which tapered off to a point. He wore a large headpiece consisting of a three-pointed crown-like ridge which bore his Iwagakure forehead protector, a ring, and a prominent black piece of armor running across his cheeks and the bridge of his nose. He wore a long-sleeved light red shirt and pants, with mesh armor shirt and fitted black suit underneath, along with calf-length sandals. Around his waist he wore a brown sash-like high-waist piece with a pouch in the front and armored lapels falling to the sides. This was Rumshai, the Jinchuriki of Son Goku, the Yambi. I am Han, Jinchuriki of the Gobi, and protector of Iwa. The armored giant spoke. I am Rumshai, Jinchuriki of the Yambi, and protector of Iwa. Who may you be? The red-haired one inquired. This is Naruto, my son, and my husband Hanu, and I am Akane. We are simply here to seek refuge within Iwa and enter our son into your academy for the third year. Akane spoke in her politician mode. The two Jinchurikas looked at one another, nodded and asked the trio to follow them to the Tsuchikage from Tenban no Noki. Tsuchikage's office. Jinten. Genkai Hikuri no Jutsu. A voice sounded from within the room. Cubicle variant. When the door opened, the five saw what caused the explosion. A little man had shot a jutsu at his desk of paperwork. Oddly enough, everything in the room besides his desk was destroyed from the jutsu. Ooh. Damn it, paperwork. The little man yelled. Every cage's office. At once, every cage in the elemental nation sneezed, spilling paperwork all over the floor. Hokage's office. Pain. Karyu Enden. An aged-old man yelled as a huge fireball slammed into his desk of paperwork. Breakage's office. Raiden no Yoroi. A muscular dark-skinned man yelled as he slammed a lightning-in-case fist onto his desk of paperwork. Izukage's office. Coral Palm. A small boy yelled as he slammed a hand onto the desk of paperwork and a huge coral field emerged. Hazukiyage's office. Gold Dust Tsunami. A medium-height brown-haired man yelled as black rings appeared around his eyes and a wave of gold dust slammed onto his desk of paperwork. Damn it. All five cages screamed together. Tsuchikage's office. After Inoki finished his rant about paperwork, the office miraculously repaired itself and in the place of his normal stack of paperwork was a stack 3 times as big. The quintet stared at the aged old man and took in his appearance. Inoki was a very short old man with a triangular beard and a mustache that had angular corners, a big red nose and thick eyebrows. The top of his head was completely bald, although he has long white hair on the lower half of his head, which is styled in a traditional Chomage haircut, the back of which is tied with a yellow ribbon into a top knot. Lunoki wears a green and yellow coat with a red collar. Underneath he wore the traditional Iwagakure outfit consistent of flak jacket, mesh armor. He however had both his sleeves of his shirt but kept a single lapel on his right side. Along with this he wore sandals. MMMH. Lunoki said as he finally noticed the 5 visitors. What do you want? After the situation was explained, the quintet was on their way. Lunoki looked at the pile of paperwork he had to do and sighed. Unfortunately, that was all that was needed for the paperwork to tip over and attempt to bury him. However, Lunoki kawaramied with a random log in the corner and it was buried instead. Thank you, and I praise you, O wonderful log, your assistance hath saved me from a fate I wouldn't wish upon anyone. I am sorry it turned out this way. Lunoki bowed his head in reverence for the fallen log. Another part of Iwagakure. A large beast roared as it slammed flaming fists down upon a house as villagers flailed their arms and fled in fear. It was an 8 feet tall demon with red skin. It had flames covering his hands and feet like manes. Its face was humanoid just like the rest of his body and it too was cloaked in orange flames, but underneath the flames was orange hair. 2 horns jutted from the side of the demon's face right above its pointed ears. Greenish blue and gold vambraces covered his arms and a similarly colored loincloth hung from its waist. Red gems adorned both vambraces and the loincloth, and underneath the loincloth was a tail with a flame that sprung from the edge. Its hooves also were crowned with flames. 1. The great beast looked around before setting its sights on the academy. Near the Academy at the same time. So this is the academy I will be attending in 4 days, huh? Naruto said in an impressed voice. It's quite big. True to his words, the academy was large, gargantuan even, much larger than Kumo's and Kiri's. However, as Naruto was admiring the academy, Akane and Hanu were sensing something quite powerful. Akane's eyes widened and Hanu's narrowed into slits as the demon came charging at the trio and were slightly confused when it halted its charge about 20 meters away. Interesting, 2 dragons and a kitsune. From what my senses tell me, the boy used to be a human and the woman was the Kyuubi. How interesting indeed. The demon's raspy voice sounded. Flames encapsulated all of Akane's being and her demon-human hybrid form was revealed. You have a lot of nerve coming here, Ifrit, demon representation of the fire element. Demon Yauki heavily saturated Akane's voice and gave her a much more terrifying aura. As the Yauki was gathered, Ifrit twitched just the tiniest bit, imperceptible by most. But this trio wasn't most, they were the best, and they saw his flinch immediately. Be that as it may, I'm not stupid enough to fight you even with only 4 tails of Yauki, and from the look in the purple-headed dragon, he's stronger than you for stronger. However, I will test the boy and if he wins, I will serve him and he will gain a little prize if you will. The trio nodded and Naruto stepped forth. Mana surged from the white head as his tails, wings, and horns sprung forth. Ifrit's eyes widened at the sheer amount of mana, but he knew better. The boy can't control that much mana yet. Interesting development. Right as he may be, Naruto started the fight with arcane language and a large white seal matrix appeared in front of him. Blame Desperado. Naruto stepped through the matrix and popped out of adorning all new special armor. He wore white and black armor with a pure obsidian lion's helmet atop his head and white flames surrounding his arms. He flung himself at Ifrit at high speeds and Ifrit retaliated by slamming his hands together, forcing all of the flames on him to turn blue and the flames surrounding his hands to glow with the azure flames, too. He too launched himself at the 7 years old. They collided with a shockwave that sent dust into the air. Black and white flames met azure flames as they entered a power struggle in which Naruto was rapidly losing, so he released a 5th muscle repression seal, leaving only 1 left in an attempt to overwhelm Ifrit. He succeeded. Naruto pushed Ifrit back just enough to drop on the ground and smack his right fist into Ifrit's gut, sending him flying backwards, carving a trench in the ground. Nice shot, kid, but that won't be nearly enough to put me down, so get ready. The last part was shouted as he launched out fireballs twice the size of Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened as he made hand signs at the speed of the average jounin. Suryudan. A large water dragon with piercing red eyes materialized out of thin air and rushed the demon at high speeds, tearing through the fireballs, not deterred at all. Ifrit simply sneered, leaped into the air and came back down on the water dragon's head with an azure fist. Steam erupted and caused a field of steam to cover the battlefield. Clashes and punches sounded as the steam cleared. Both were in bad positions. Naruto lowered himself to the ground as a wide aura erupted around his fist. Ryusei Ken. And if anyone can tell me what that's from, I'll give you a digital cookie pea. The wide aura formed into several bolts of light energy that bore down upon Ifrit. Azure Infernal Shield. A huge tornado of azure flames erupted around Ifrit, blocking him from view, but also protecting him from Naruto's Ryusei Ken. As the flames died down, the two again engaged in heated combat. Get it, Hitednothing. The two fought until both were forced apart by a particularly strong Suryuden aimed at the ground. The CHA sword appeared in Naruto's hand as he flicked his tail in annoyance. I'm not ready, but this will remain a stalemate if I don't use it. My ninja skills are all but useless against him. Here goes nothing. Naruto summoned an incomplete version of the Realm of Nothingness, the ultimate skill a swordsman can utilize, and hoped for the best. Mizuchi. Naruto whispered. Naruto disappeared and reappeared on the other side of Ifrit, all movement halted as Naruto moved out of his stance. He sheathed the sword which Ifrit didn't even know was unsheathed, and as it slid all the way to the tsuba, Naruto removed a hand and brushed the hair out of his eyes and sheathed the sword with his other hand with an audible click. Ifrit cried out in pain as several gashes and slashes appeared on his body and he slumped to the ground in defeat. However, Naruto also slumped to the ground, the exhaustion of using the incomplete technique and fighting an hour-long battle with Ifrit got to him. So powerful for such a young age. And to hold back and still win. You are truly deserving of my aid and my gauntlets. I will now travel with you on your journey. Ifrit's voice held wonder and admiration as he spoke. How will I explain a 8-feet-tall demon accompanying me to the academy? Naruto queried. You didn't actually think I didn't have a human form, did you? Sigh. Well, before I change to that form, I will tell you what my gauntlets do. They allow you to ascend into a Miyu hybrid and far more control over flames. They also increase physical capabilities by a large margin. You also get control over external flames that aren't yours, so long as the flames aren't stronger than your own. Okay. Naruto nodded. Oh Naruto, you still have to sign the dragon contract from me, the salamander one from Hanzo before we go to Suna, and we have to find you a third one, preferably not the foxes, because besides Akane, there are absolutely no combat foxes, and you are a combat guy. Hanu stated. Naruto nodded once more and picked himself up off the ground as flames surrounded both Akane and Ifrit as they returned to human forms. Ifrit looked like a 7-year-old redhead with piercing, slightly glowing orange eyes with slitted pupils. He wore an azure shirt with golden sleeves and 2 ruby earrings. He also wore black shorts that complemented his dark chocolate-colored skin. He was about 4'8", slightly taller than the average boys in Naruto's class in Kumo, and about an inch taller than Naruto himself. He had golden and blue piercings in the top half of both his ears and a small piercing in his lower lip. Like Hanu, he glowed with regality, well, with as much regality as a demon could, and looked ready for travel. He held a pair of gauntlets that he handed to Naruto, and when the young Drake touched the gauntlets, fire shot out and the gauntlets disappeared, and on Naruto's arms, there was a small tattoo of each gauntlet. What are the gauntlets and what do they do? Naruto asked. Hey, hold on a second. Ifrit cleared his throat. Much better. So as I was saying, the gauntlets allow better control of your fire and allow you to control any fire that is weaker than your own. Naruto nodded and gaped a bit in awe. The possibilities. Naruto thought. Alright, let's go to the apartment that Tsuchikage gave us. The group nodded and followed Hanu, but then he suddenly, causing the group to comically smash into him. Do any of you know where the apartment is? Everyone sweat dropped. Well shit. Was everyone's collective thoughts. Wait, damn it. You guys are so freaking fast. Shit. An onyx-haired 8-year-old girl came running towards the now quartet. She stopped in front of the group, panting vigorously. As she rose from her panting position, the 2 dragons and 2 demons got a good look at her. She had long black hair that fell to the small of her back, I know she had short hair in the manga and anime, but this is my fanfiction for a reason, and large pink pupil-less eyes. She wore a short red blouse that showed a bit of her torso, and she wore a pair of pink jeans to match her eyes. She was a bit shorter than Naruto and Ifrit's child form, standing at 4'5". I'm here to show you the apartment Lenoki Jiji gave you guys. Oh, and by the way, I'm Kuritsuchi. Hajimemashite. The group nodded and started their introductions. I'm Ifrit, a demon. The red-haired demon spoke nonchalantly. I'm Akane, the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The female demon spoke. I'm Hanu, the Raijin. The tall chocolate dragon said. And I am Naruto, all of us are Uzumakas, and I'm a Drake, or young dragon. Hajimemashite. The white-haired dragon declared. Kuritsuchi nodded, looked around, shook each of their hands, and promptly fainted. The group sweat dropped. Shoot, I thought she was good, but I guess the lack of noise coming from her vocal folds should have given it away. Now how are we supposed to get to the apartment? Guess we will have to wait till she wakes up. Akane spoke, almost exasperated. No, we won't. Suiton. Miserapa. Hanu shouted as he shot a ball of water onto Kuritsuchi's face. She woke up with a sputter and cursed with a tongue that would have made Taiya cringe. Soon the group was on their way. When they got to the apartment, the group said their goodbyes and went their separate ways, 4 going to bed, with 1 heading back to the cage tower. Time skip, 4 days later, at the academy. As Naruto got to the academy and stumbled upon Kuritsuchi. As they said their greetings, Kuritsuchi instantly noticed the absence of Ifrit and instantly queried about it. Naru, where is Ifrit? He doesn't want to come to the academy, so he is going to stay home when I go to the academy. He is just going to show up when I travel. Kuretsuchi nodded in understanding. So Kuro-chan, what kind of jutsus do you know? And I know you know some, being that Tsuchikage's granddaughter. Kuretsuchi blushed furiously at the nickname, though Naruto didn't notice a thing, would be Naruto without his obliviousness. Well, I have the ability to use fire, earth, and lava jutsus. Naruto was dumbfounded. Someone who can use lava jutsus. Score. Nice, I can use paper jutsus and a bunch of fire ones. But I want to be able to use lava ones. Naruto spoke odd. Really? Maybe Rashi Ajasan can teach you. He taught me a bit. Kuretsuchi replied. Eventually, they got inside and stared ahead, watching as their teacher walking in the door. The man was about 5'11" with blonde hair tied into a ponytail that draped down to his tailbone. He had long bangs that went down over his left eye and fell past his face. He wore the standard Iwachunin flak jacket with a black V-neck underneath and pale green pants with bandages around the ankles. He wore his hit I-8 around his neck. Hello all, my name is Deidara and the new student is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto, stand up and bow. Naruto did as he was instructed. He then sat down and began talking to Kuretsuchi. As Deidara started his lesson, he noticed two students paying zero attention. Guess who? Naruto-kun, Kuretsuchi-chan, mind attention. When he got no attention, a tick mark developed upon his forehead. Naruto. Kuretsuchi. Turn the fuck around. He yelled as he flung an exploding clay bird at the pair. Without even turning his head or diverting his eyes, Naruto's hand flung out and caught the bird by the wings. Lightning chakra sparked around his hand as it nullified the earth chakra in the small bird-like construction. Deidara's eyes widened. To not only catch the bird flying at Chunin speeds, realize that there was earth chakra within the bird, and nullify if with enough lightning chakra manipulation. This is by no means an academy or even a genin level boy. Deidara thought. Did you need anything, Deidara-sensei? Naruto asked innocently. No Naruto-kun, just please pay attention, Deidara stuttered, still in shock. Oh, can you two meet me after class? The two nodded and Deidara took that as the signal to resume his class. 2 hours later, alright, I want you all to make a line and channel chakra into these pieces of paper, alright? Deidara spoke. The class nodded and formed a line. As each student channeled their chakra into the pieces of paper Deidara-sensei handed to them, the line soon progressed to a boy with bright blue hair who stood at about 4'8", roughly the same height of Ifrit. Kenta, you're up. Kenta took the card from his teacher's hand. As he channeled his chakra into the card, he solicited a huge shock from, well, everybody. The paper crumbled to dust, but the dust then congealed and sparked a lot. It then visibly exploded. Kenta, who are your parents? Deidara asked. Kenta instantly became really shy. Ano Pukura and Shiteru Kamasuke. Deidara's eyes threatened to pop out of their sockets. No way, the best scorch release and explosive release users that had ever existed. No bad, they passed away. The class stared in awe and in sadness. Kenta too looked down in sadness. Meet me after class with Naruto and Kuretsuchi. Kenta nodded and Deidara moved on to Naruto. Naruto took the card and channeled chakra into it and the results were staggering to say the least. In addition to his old affinities that surprised the class anyway, the remains of the card exploded with staggering force. Even more reason to meet after class, Naruto. The card then moved on to Kuretsuchi and once again, the result was amazing. Blue flame erupted from the card as well as the other half of the card crumbling into dust. Once that was over, both parts of the cards became lava. Well damn. Deidara basically summed up everyone's thoughts. After class, after leaving the academy with a third member, Naruto, Kuretsuchi, and Kenta made their way to Training Ground 22, the meeting place Deidara specified. When they got there were many people. There was the Tsuchikage, Rashi, Han, Deidara, and a newcomer. Alright you three. Because of your aptitudes, we have decided to put together a fast-growing, quickly powerful, hard-hitting team. Kenta, Kuretsuchi, and Naruto, you have been selected as a team personally trained by us and the Tsuchikage. Your authority in this village will be equivalent to that of a jounin, and you will only answer to the Tsuchikage. Naruto will be taught by all of us because of his versatility. Kuretsuchi will be taught by Tsuchikage-sama, Rashi-san, and Han-san. Kenta will be taught by the new teacher Gari-san, captain of the explosive corps, Tsuchikage-sama, and myself. Naruto, Kenta, what are your fighting styles? Deidara lectured and queried. Long range. Kenta whispered, still slightly awed and struck with passion. Up close and personal, baby. Naruto shouted. Every single person in the clearing sweat dropped. Okay, so Gari will be Naruto's main explosive release sensei because he is an up-close explosives expert who also is a master of the landmine fist style, a style that has given him almost as much recognition as Tsunade herself. Kenta will be mainly taught by me because I am a master of long-range explosives. Any questions? No. Then training will commence in about a week and a half. First day of training, Kuritsuchi. Alright, Kuro-chan. I have something important to tell you, but it can only be verified if you channel fire chakra to your hands. Rashi spoke in training ground 23, right next to training ground 22. Kuritsuchi did as instructed and found herself entranced and mesmerized by the amazing azure flames that flickered within her palms. No way, the legendary azure flames, but how? Kuritsuchi inquired, still awed by the flickering flames. You have a bloodline from your mother and my sister that goes by the name of Izayakana Hanu Purusu. A body bloodline that allows you to manipulate flames at a godly level, especially the azure flames, the strongest flames a human can produce, on par with the flames of Amaterasu. However, its best use is what this bloodline is famous for. Taijutsu. This allows you to cloak your hands and feet in flames in order to deal massive damage to opponents, increase physical strength and speed. Rashi explained. Kuritsuchi was absolutely floored by the usefulness of her Kekai Genkai. Sugoi, amazing. Well, let's get started. Rashi nodded. The name of the taijutsu for this Kekai Genkai goes by the name of Flaming Lady. The one adopted for the male is Flaming Gentleman. I'll give you a demonstration. Bright orange flames encompassed his person. Hijutsu. Flaming Spin Kick. He leapt into the air, his feet flaming, and landed on his hands. He then spun on his hands, flames arsing out from his feet like a sonar. He then cut the sonar in half with a kick as he became upright once more. Kuritsuchi's eyes bugged out as she sat there, completely dumbfounded by the move that will be even more enhanced by her personal blue flames. She tried it as well, blue flames cloaking her feet. She too leapt into the air and landed on her hands, balance impeccable. She then spun, but could not get the flames to pulse off her like Rashi did. So it seems we need to work on your fire manipulation. So we will work on ninjutsu and lava fire earth jutsus until I deem your elemental manipulation satisfactory enough to restart our practice of taijutsu because movements aren't a problem, integrating your bloodline is. Alright. Rashi explained. Kuritsuchi nodded and they jumped back into training, this time focused only on ninjutsu. The first jutsu is known as Yoten. Lava Geyser. It is quite self-explanatory jutsu, it summons a large pillar of lava that pours out of a hole and rushes towards the opponent. Rashi lectured. He showed her the hand signs and performed the jutsu. As he performed the jutsu, lava rushed out in front of him, crashing into a tree and melting burning it as the tree caught on fire. Kuritsuchi's eyes widened at the possibilities. Now I normally would never give a jutsu of this power to an 8-year-old, but because of your mother's bloodline that has been passed to you, you have much larger than average chakra reserves, in fact, you have reserves easily as big as a Chunin right now. Now it's your turn. Kuritsuchi nodded. Yoten. Lava Geyser. Kuritsuchi was all ready for the large explosion of lava that would rush towards Rashi. However, all that came out of the ground was a small amount of magma and it didn't even shoot into the air, it just popped out of the hole and made a small pool around the hole. Kuritsuchi face planted, thankfully not into the lava. Well, that was anticlimactic. Kuritsuchi sighed and resumed her practice. First day of training, Naruto. Alright Naruto. Here I have a leaf that I want you to practice using steam chakra on. In order to master steam chakra, there are 3 steps. The first is to take this leaf and to burn it by applying water chakra, then burning the water chakra with fire chakra and using the steam created to burn the leaf. You must find the perfect balance. The second step is to cause a boulder to heat up and crack using only steam chakra. You use water chakra to moisten up the rock and fire chakra to create enough steam to crack the water. The third is to transform an entire waterfall into steam by using steam. You can figure that one out. Han told Naruto. Naruto nodded and grabbed the leaf. He sent water chakra into the leaf and wet it while sending fire chakra into the leaf at the same time. However, he sent far too much fire chakra into the leaf and the water evaporated while burning the leaf at the same time. What happened? Naruto asked, surprised at the turnout of his attempt. Han shook his head. You have to find the perfect balance, you sent way too much fire chakra into the leaf. You have to send only enough to create a phase change while maintaining the amount needed to keep the gas hot and not allow it to condense back into liquid. It has to do a lot with chemistry, specifically the specific heat capacity of the gas, which, although is 1, is also dependent on the amount of fire chakra sent into the gas. Naruto almost fainted from the intricacies required to master this technique. Since Bakura is no longer among the living, I will have to just tell you the steps to master Scorch Release Chakra because I don't have the specifications to actually use it. Here are the 3 steps. The first step is to mix fire and wind chakra in just the way required to evaporate all of the water inside of the leaf without burning it. The second step is to take a glass of water and evaporate all of the water without making the cup hot. The final step is to send out a pulse of Scorch Chakra to evaporate water from 3 trees at once. Got all that? Naruto nodded and grabbed another leaf to try Scorch. Naruto got to work on the leaves but then stopped when he heard Yoten. Lava geyser from the other training ground, and it reminded him of his own training with lava when they were making their way towards Iwa. Flashback, on the way to Iwa. In the interest of time, we are going to work on your training with lava, alright? Akane told Naruto. Naruto nodded and looked at the scroll Hanu left him while he went to town to fetch supplies. The first on the scroll was Jotun. Lava globs. The hand signs were dragon monkey snakeox monkey. It shot out multiple balls of molten lava at high speeds. Naruto tried it, but only got one to come out. He worked and worked so that by the end of the day, he had the jutsu mastered and moved on to the next one. This one was Jotun. Lava geyser, but before he could even read the hand seals, 30 balls of water came shooting at him. Naruto dodged them all effortlessly, and 5 ninjas shot out of the shadows. "We are here to kill you. Come quietly or we will use force," one of the ninjas said. "Jotun. Lava globs," was Naruto's only reply. Several ninjas cursed and dodged as they didn't know he could use lava jutsus. Naruto wondered where Akane disappeared off to when 3 of the ninjas shouted, "Suiton. Suryuiden." The other 3 shouted, "Raiten. Ryuiden." The 3 water dragons combined and the 3 lightning dragons combined into one giant dragon. Combination jutsu. Ultimate storm dragon. The enormous dragon charged towards Naruto. "Shit, I'm Jotun." Lava geyser. Naruto created a huge geyser of lava, burst out of the ground and smashed into the dragon, instantly destroying it. Paper chakram. 13 chakrams burst from paper formed out of Naruto's skin and smashed into all 6 ninjas, killing them instantly. Unbelievable. To use the lava geyser on instinct, not even reading the hand seals. "You are a genius in ninjutsu." Akane spoke, popping out of nowhere. "Ah!" Naruto screamed, terrified. He passed out from shock as Akane face palmed. She sighed and grabbed him. Flashback high. After he finished reminiscing, Naruto resumed his training. First day of training, with Kenta. "Now Kenta, as you know, I'm Deidara and I will be teaching you how to control your explosive chakra and funnel it into clay constructions that you will fight with." Deidara spoke. Kenta only nodded and watched as Deidara grabbed some clay from his pouch and held it out. Wordlessly, Deidara shaped it in his hands and charged it with explosive chakra. Then he threw it at a tree and held the ram hand seal, causing the tree to explode into splinters. "Now that you've seen that, I'm going to be teaching you how to do it yourself. First things first, you must take some clay and shape it into what you want to throw at your enemy." All of a sudden, a tornado of rocks, dirt and clay surrounded Kenta as his eyes glowed white and all of the items surrounding him shot out at once, smashing into anything near and exploding with the force of C2. Deidara's eyes comically widened. "I should have known that would happen. After all, you have the purest form of the explosive bloodline and it always awakens like that." Deidara whispered to himself. "Makes training easier at least." At that, the tornado died down and Kenta fell down, exhausted. Both sat down and when Kenta was good enough, the two got back up and began practice again. Because Kenta now knew how to funnel explosive chakra into the clay around him, he now had to work with actually shaping the clay into what he wanted it to be. Soon it was a crane and Kenta made many more. At that time, another ability of this pure bloodline came into play. Kenta could control the constructions simply by the explosive chakra in the constructions, and he found that he could levitate them around him, shoot them at opponents with just a thought, and it made training better and easier. "Alright Kenta, the next part of your training will have to do with rapid creation of your clay. In order to put your bloodline to the ultimate test, you will charge this clay with explosive chakra first, then you will control the clay with your chakra and shape into whatever you want it to be." Deidara lectured. Kenta nodded and began to work. It was immensely difficult and Kenta found that actually changing the shape of the clay using his bloodline was a bitch to do. "Shit, why is it not working?" Kenta screamed after one particularly difficult session. He just formed 3 cranes in his hand and flung them at a tree and held the ram hand seal and laughed manically as the trees around him became kindling. Deidara walked upon the scene and sweat dropped as he watched his young apprentice destroy trees to vent his frustration. "Suo, how you doing sport?" Deidara asked tentatively. "How the fuck do you think I'm doing?" Kenta yelled at the top of his lungs as his head turned so fast, Deidara thought his neck broke. Deidara was genuinely afraid of the blood-red flames that seemed to burst into being within Kenta's eye sockets. "I think you're doing pretty well." Deidara was laughing at his little joke when he basically saw death stalking towards him, 7 cranes in hand, almost glowing with the amount of explosive chakra shoved into them. "Get back here." The Shinigami named Kenta yelled at Deidara, cackling madly as he chased him around the training ground, throwing cranes at Jounin level speeds with enough chakra to be C3 bombs. Tsuchikage's office, after first day of training. "Good job all. As you saw from the first day of training, you will have different senseis teaching you different things. Naruto. Ninjutsu is myself, Han, and kind of Gari. Taijutsu is myself, Gari, and Rashi. Chakra control is Deidara. No Jinjutsu. Basic ninja theory and weapons training are Tadara. Kenta. Ninjutsu is Tadara and kind of Gari. Taijutsu is myself, Gari, Rashi, and Han. Chakra control is Tadara. No Jinjutsu. Basic ninja theory and weapons training is Rashi. Kuritsuchi. Ninjutsu is myself and Rashi. Taijutsu is myself, Rashi, Gari, and Han. Chakra control is Han. No Jinjutsu. Chakra theory and weapons training is Gari. Now that everyone has their assignments, go on and rest, for training and academy will be for 8 months, and when those 8 months have elapsed, you three will be my team, alright. The three youth nodded their heads at the Tsuchikage's question. Oh, I forgot the Kinjutsu training will be with Akane and Hanu for everyone, alright. More nods happened, and everyone left the office. Next day at the end of training, as the trio was walking home from training, 2 big kids for the 4th year at the academy came stalking over to Naruto, Kuritsuchi, and Kenta and started to make trouble. Hey cutie, maybe you should ditch the 8 and 7 years olds and come hang with us real men, us 11 years olds. The tall lanky boy in the front spoke. First off, 3 things. First. If you are 11 years old and only a year ahead of us in the academy, then that is just plain sad. Second. Who the fuck would want to hang out with a bunch of butt ugly weaklings? And 3. Who the fuck do you think you are? She is my Kuro-chan. Naruto screamed the last one as his eyes burned with pure fury. Kuritsuchi blushed as he said the last one, and Kenta smirked. I knew it. Shut up, midget. Well fuck. Shit just hit the fan. No one calls Naruto short, especially not someone who has already made an advance on Kuritsuchi. Naruto seemingly disappeared from everyone's vision and appeared in front of the boys. The boy in front threw a punch that was effortlessly caught in Naruto's hand, and Naruto simply stared at the boy while putting pressure on the fist and watched as the boy knelt on the ground, screaming from the pain. Boy, you picked the wrong person to mess with. Naruto whispered menacingly in his ear. Today you will learn to never, ever mess with the Tsuchikage's trio. Naruto picked him up by his fist, slammed him into the ground and flung him parallel to the ground. Naruto appeared behind the boy and grabbed the back of his shirt while he was still flying backwards, spun, and kicked him in the stomach, almost doubling the momentum that he was already starting to lose and sending him flying into a building. Naruto then stalked towards the second one who simply peed his pants and fainted, frothing at the mouth, twitching every so often. Naruto huffed at the sight, swept the long white bangs out of his eyes, and motioned for them to get going. Both nodded and walked on. 8 months later, improvement went for all three as they soaked up the teachings of the academy and that of their senseis. From the Tsuchikage himself, Naruto learned a multitude of dust jutsus. Some of them being the Jinten. Dust javelins, Jinten. Genkai Hakuri, Jinten. Dust bunshin, Jinten. Jinken, and many more. From Han, some of the ones Naruto learned were Futten. Blind Fog, Futten. Steam Bunshin, Futten. 5 Mountain Kick, Futten. Fukin, and more. From Gari, he only learned 2 jutsu, but they became the basis of his taijutsu style. Bakuten. Explosive Landmine Fist and Bakuten. Explosive Landmine Kick. Those 2 jutsu were simply charging explosion chakra to the fist and feet and expelling all the chakra when hitting someone. He also finally achieved the realm of nothingness, and with it came the mastering of every technique in the Mumu Jinpyu Ryu. He also increased his gravity seals by 13 and strength restriction seals up 2. When releasing all of his strength restrictions, he is easily strong enough to tap the ground and make a crater larger than Tsunade's strongest punch. When all of his gravity weight seals are removed, he is about thrice the speed of Horatian, but he can't do so because of immense tunnel vision he has to learn to master before taking off too many of his gravity and weight seals. From Akane, Naruto learned many advanced katas for the Kitsuniken and for the Claw Jaiuken. He mastered everything in her Kinjutsu style and has started using a bow as well as a staff. She has helped him almost master the use of mana and has introduced him to multiple other forms of weaponry, but his favorites besides the sword art are the Naginata, bow staff, and bow and arrow archery. He's also learned how to use a few Kitsune illusions as well as how to charge energy into his tail to create moves. He made a few, Cola Crescente, Zero, Bala, Bala Grand, Zero Dragon, Bala Metroletta, Zero Oscuras, and Gran Race Zero. From Hanu, Naruto learned how to use 3 types of magic, one that relies on Mako, one that has many types of magic that is supposedly from some Najima dimension, and one that focuses dark energy. Because Naruto is a dragon, he need not use Mako and can use mana instead. Naruto uses a large staff that he calls the Darkfire Staff and a grimoire. For the dark magic, Naruto needs 3 focus words, and the ones he has are Azarath, Metrian, Zinthos. These words help him to focus the dark magic to make it even more potent. He has learned a multitude of spells for the ones that used to need Mako. He learned 3 healing ones, some protection ones, but he also knew ones that could summon meteors from the sky, create huge bursts of pure energy, command the elements effortlessly, and summon deadly creatures to do battle. From the second type of magic, Naruto learned how to use many elements like the first, summon spirits to do battle, combine with spells to increase the efficiency of his close combat, and combine two different spells to create amazing new ones. He also learned how to make a paksha with people that gave them a weapon, and the ability to communicate telepathically using the card that was generated during the ceremony. For a girl, he kissed her, and for a male, they just shook hands. With the dark magic, he learned to summon shadow warriors, command darkness soundlessly, become intangible, summon interdimensional portals to unleash monsters upon the opponent, and make things levitate. He wore a cloak that hid most of himself from view, just think of a male raven. Both Kuretsuchi and Kenta mastered the use of their bloodline chakra and paksha weapons. Kuretsuchi took a more direct approach with her bloodline taijutsu and bladed tonfas, while, like Naruto, Kenta took more to the bow and charging explosive chakra to it to make it even more deadly to his opponents, but he wasn't any less deadly when it came to taijutsu. Naruto made a paksha with Kuretsuchi and she got two gauntlets that focused her fire powers, upped her strength, and turned her already powerful blue flames purple. With Kenta, he received a pouch of magic clay that grew to whatever size he wanted it to, and whatever was used to attack was heat-seeking, meaning one could not avoid it simply by running or hiding their chakra. Kuretsuchi managed to figure out how to mold the flames of her bloodline into different constructions without the use of extra chakra and created many techniques utilizing this ability. All three were very powerful ninja, easily elite jounin level and higher. Soon, all three were called into the Tsuchikage's office to receive their first A-ranked mission as the Tsuchikage's team. But first, there was the problem of naming their team. However, they soon came to an agreement. The team was to be named Sub-Elemental Armageddon. And it really fit. With Naruto and his storm, ice, lava, dust, steam, explosion, and scorch jutsu, and the other two with lava and explosion, they really were amazing with sub-elements. Tsuchikage's office. The Tsuchikage got a really good look at the trio when they walked into the room. Naruto was wearing his cloak with the bottom of his shinobi pants showing. His hood was down, showing his white ponytail with black streaks in it, purple-blue slitted eyes, and a serious expression on his chiseled face. He held his dark fire staff in the one hand that was visible. The dark fire staff was a bit taller than Naruto and looked like two dragon wings coming off the top of the staff, with a dragon claw holding an orb in the middle of the two wings. The pommel of the staff looked like a dragon's mouth that too held a small orb. His zambatas were sealed into his back. Although he was 8, he was more than powerful enough to kick some serious ass. The Tsuchikage remembered when he turned 8. The Tsuchikage panned his eyes towards Kenta, took a good look at him. He wore a serious expression mirroring Naruto's, and his short black bangs were swept to the side. He wore a V-neck black shirt with the words, "Don't fuck with Sub-Elemental Armageddon." He wore dark green shinobi pants with many pockets to hold storage scroll and a nice large pouch for clay. His bright green eyes were trained on the Tsuchikage. He was 9 and looked ready for battle. He finally looked at his granddaughter. She had her dark hair in a braid that fell in front of her, think Konoha Naretsu's hairstyle, with her pink eyes as sharp as ever. She wore a dark red battle kimono with her tonfas hidden beneath. The kimono had blue chakra birds flying on the kimono and had small pockets to hold storage scrolls. The long sleeves of her kimono covered the senbon packages she had taped to each arm for quicker use and could bring them to her hands with a well-placed chakra string. She was 9 like Kenta and 2 looked like she was ready for war. "I called you here because it's finally time to take your place as Sub-Elemental Armageddon, my team. Your first mission as my team is to a Konoha outpost on our border. They are attacking the Iwa patrol and constantly taking them hostage. There should be about 15 ninjas there. This could turn out to be an S-ranked mission if there are any ninja of elite jounin and higher. Do you accept this assassination mission to destroy the outpost and rescue mission to free our patrol members?" The Tsuchikage both briefed and asked. The three nodded, and with a small burst of chakra, a black leather jacket popped out of a seal on Kenta's left arm, and he put it on. The Tsuchikage handed Naruto the mission scroll, and the trio made their way to the border. At the Konoha outpost, Sub-Elemental Armageddon made their way silently to the outpost prison gate and looked at it and cursed. "This is gonna make a hell of a lot of noise, but I guess this is why the old man gave us the assassination mission as well." Kenta spoke. The other nodded as Kenta grabbed a lump of clay and made a small clay bird and telepathically told it to smash into the prison gate and explode. It did just that, and the gate exploded outwards, allowing the team to move in silently and free the prisoners. As Kenta instructed the prisoners to stay where they were until they came back, 4 ninja burst through the remains of the gate. "Who the hell are you guys?" one of the Konoha jounin asked. "Sub-Elemental Armageddon. I am the Phoenix Lady, prepare to die." Kuretsuchi spoke as flames erupted around her fists and feet. She launched herself at the 4 ninja and shouted, "Hijutsu." Flaming reverse axis kick. The flames around her legs spun counterclockwise as she spun and hit one of the ninja with a reverse roundhouse kick. The flames set him on fire, but also sent him spinning with her flames. She then threw devastating punches and kicks to the face and body of the 3 remaining ninja. She huffed as they went through the gate again and made their way to the front, punching and kicking and blasting ninjas with birds, magic, and flames. The hell, we've whipped the asses of at least 30 ninjas, and we haven't even made it to the densely populated area yet. Damn, Tsuchikage vastly underestimated the ninjas here. I summon the spirits of the 17 deadly Valkyries. Come on and kick some ass. Naruto evoked 17 Valkyries that burst out of a sigil in the ground and started to pierce people with their swords and lances. Raining explosive kunes. Shouted Kenta as kunes made of explosive clay shoot out of his pouch of clay and landed in front of the ninjas, exploding. The 3 raced through the corridors and landed in a large clearing about halfway through the outpost's underground tunnels. Easily 60 ninja popped out of the other side of the clearing, raining jutsu upon them. Shit. Reflectga. Sap. A large barrier appeared in front of the trio and sent the jutsus back at them, and sap drained them of a large amount of their chakra. Summoned Shiva. A beautiful blue woman with weird hair appeared from a sigil on the floor, like the Valkyries, just look her up, she a Final Fantasy person. Diamond dust. A huge amount of ice appeared in the middle of the ninja gathering and started to grow larger when it exploded, killing many ninjas with both the explosion and shrapnel. Phoenix bombardment. When Kuritsuchi summoned her gauntlets, the flames around her turned purple, then morphed into hundreds of phoenixes that were unleashed into the fray, killing many more. Kenta finished it with C3. Arachnid destruction. Hundreds of tiny spiders surrounded the remaining ninja and exploded, killing them. The 3 sighed when 3 ninja walked into the clearing. You have got to be kidding me. Kenta yelled. Who are you 3 and what is your mission? A tall man with a mask, gravity-defying silver hair, a slanted hit eye covering his left eye, the classic Anbu Captain gear on, and held an Anbu mask that said Inu in his hand. Another man of relatively equal height stood next to him with the classic Anbu Captain gear on, with brown hair and a mask that said Tenzo on it. The third person was shorter than the 2, with long purple hair, a mask that said Nico, and the classic Anbu Captain gear on as well. I am the Ryu Mahutsukai, Dragon Mage. Spoke Naruto. I am the Azure Fenikusu, Azure Phoenix. Spoke Kuritsuchi. I am the Bakahatsu Senshi, Explosion Warrior. Spoke Kenta. And we are Sub-Elemental Armageddon. The team of the Tsuchikage. We are here to kill you. They spoke together. The 3 Anbu captains looked at each other and nodded. We are Inu, Nico, and Tenzo, the 3 Anbu captains of Konoha. We are here to kill you. Inu spoke. I'll take the Ryu Mahutsukai, Nico take the Azure Fenikusu, and Tenzo you take the Bakahatsu Senshi. The 3 nodded as once and leapt towards their opponents. But Naruto and Inu, you will be an excellent test of my power Sharingan no Kakashi. Naruto spoke. Inu's eyes widened, but then he realized that he didn't need the mask if his opponent knew his identity. So he removed both the Anbu mask and removed his hit I-8, revealing his Sharingan. Kakashi started the match with a quick Kaiten. Kikakyu. Naruto simply raised his staff and retaliated with a reflect. Naruto's staff then disappeared and a 7 feet Nadachi appeared in his hand. Be grateful Kakashi-san that you will be the first to test my Masamune in battle. Be ready. Octoslash. Naruto flung himself at Kakashi, his sword arm ablur as Kakashi swiftly took out a kunai and his father's tanto and desperately tried to block Naruto's attack. Both the tanto and the kunai shattered under the effort to block the 8 slashes coming at him and he barely succeeded. He drew 2 more kunai, charged them with white chakra and slashed at Naruto. Naruto raised Masamune in defense and right before the kunai clashed with his Masamune, Naruto shouted, Scintilla. A large wall of glass-like diamonds interlaced appeared before Naruto and when the kunai touched them, Naruto disappeared and reappeared on the other side of Kakashi and he fell to the ground, covered in slashes. Shit. Rikiri. Kakashi shouted as he raced towards Naruto, his hand covered in focused lightning. Naruto turned, his hand covered in wind and slammed it into Kakashi's Rikiri. An orb of energy happened and both fighters were launched from the sphere of energy, Kakashi covered in more slashes and Naruto slightly paralyzed. This fight is over. Dispel. Naruto was covered in a green light and the paralysis was removed. Pain. Karyuden. Naruto's eyes widened at the fire dragon that was launched towards the side of the cavern, causing a huge hole to appear. With Kenta and Tenzo, this will definitely be interesting. Let's see how you hold up against my art, infected by Deidara Mokuton no Yamato. Just like Inu, because Kenta knew his identity, he ditched the mask and prepared himself. Mokuton. Wood javelins. Large planks of wood shot from the ground and raced towards Kenta at high speeds, but Kenta just looked on in boredom and tossed some birds that hit each javelin accurately on the tip and exploded. Shit, Mokuton. Wood hammer. His arm became wood as he launched himself at Kenta. Kenta's eyes widened as he summoned snakes of clay to wrap around the wood hammer and he thought, explode. And they did, wood chips flew everywhere. Now do you see my Kenta was interrupted by a shout of Mokuton. 4-pillar prison jutsu. 4 pillars of wood shot up and connected, making a large wooden prison around Kenta. "Oh, you little few!" Kenta was interrupted again as Yamato shouted. "Mokuten." Cutting jutsu. Tons of wooden spikes erupted from Yamato's back and he shot them at the prison. Mokuten. Wood dragon jutsu. A large dragon made of wood launched itself at the prison following the numerous sword spikes. Kenta's eyes widened and he launched his own swords made of exploding clay at the swords and a clay dragon to combat the wood one. In a mighty explosion, both people were sent flying out of the smoke, Kenta free from his prison, but a bit roughed up, and Yamato had a few burns and was panting from the many jutsus done in succession. "You have a lot of nerve." Kenta spoke in anger. He levitated above the ground with the use of the Tsuchikage's technique. Die. Infinite clay stampede. Thousands of clay animals of all shapes and sizes flew at Yamato, and Yamato's eyes opened in both wonder and horror. But he steeled his nerves and quickly used a technique. Mokuten. Nativity of a sea of trees. An immense amount of tall trees erupted as a defense against the stampede of clay animals. When he saw how many animals there were, he exhausted the rest of his chakra using 2 jutsus, Mokuten. Hobi jutsu, Mokuten. World of Trees Wall. A wall of dense trees formed behind the sea of trees and a giant wooden dragon head surrounded Yamato. As the attack stopped, the dust cleared and Kenta saw Yamato unconscious and badly burned. Kenta turned his head when he heard a shout of "Kaiten. Kiryuiden." He saw Kakashi blast a dragon towards the side of the cavern, grab Yamato, and make a break for it. With Kuretsuchi and Nico. MMPH, you will be the first opponent to my bladed tonfas in real battle. Tsurugi no Yugao. Like with Yamato and Kakashi, as her identity was revealed, she cast aside her mask and drew her sword. Kuretsuchi armed herself with her bladed tonfas and summoned her gauntlets. Fire exploded around her arms and legs as she launched herself at Yugao, blades flashing. Konoha Ryu. Mikazuki no Mai. 2 shadow clones appeared next to Yugao as she rushed at Kuretsuchi. She then decided to mix techniques and yelled, "Hazy Moon Knight." She and her clones leapt into the air leaving afterimages everywhere. She moved her sword leaving afterimages of her sword as well and clashed with Kuretsuchi, a blur of movement. Kuretsuchi clicked her teeth in annoyance. The jutsu. Tonfa blinding flame. Her tonfas shifted position instantly and the flame grew bright, blinding the 3 Yugaos enough for Kuretsuchi to land 2 direct hits on the clones, dispelling them and double kicking the real Yugao in her torso, flinging her backwards. She then backflipped off of Yugao, landed in a running position and took off after the airborne Yugao. She coated her feet in flames and yelled, "The jutsu. Flaming spin kick combo. Tonfa edition." She hopped into the air and landed on her tonfas, with her feet lashing out at Yugao in an amazing display of dexterity. She then flipped onto her feet and spun, covering Yugao in cauterizing cuts. She then hopped back onto her tonfas and front flipped onto Yugao's stomach, pushing the air out of her lungs and burning her, and ended it with a twin tonfa slash to the stomach. With that, she leapt backwards off of the now obviously unconscious Yugao. She turned her head as she heard a shout of "Kaiten. Kiryuiden," and saw a giant flaming dragon smash into the side of the cavern creating a hole. She then witnessed 2 shadow clones grab Yamato and Yugao and rushed to meet up with Kakashi. The 3 Kakashis holding the 2 unconscious Anbu captains leapt through the hole and ran towards Konoha. And with that, the 3 finished destroying the outpost, rescuing the prisoners, and made their way back to Iwa to report the successful now S-ranked mission. Konoha, Gate. As the 3 Kakashis finally made it back to Konoha, the gate guards, Izumo Kamizuki and Katetsu Hagane, looked upon the 3 Anbu captains, 2 of which were unconscious. They instantly called for medics. "What happened?" Katetsu shouted. Kakashi's steps faltered and the clones disappeared, dropping the unconscious Anbu captains, and Kakashi himself fell to the ground. "Horrible reinforcement mission fled so powerful almost killed us." Kakashi tried to get out before he fell unconscious. Hangin' Thirkaka was all Kakashi heard before he fell unconscious, into a small coma. "Damn it, he's unconscious. Get the Hokage and all of the hospital's best medics now." Izumo yelled at Katetsu. Even though they were officers of equal rank, Katetsu obeyed without hesitation, as if Izumo was the Hokage himself. As the Hokage arrived, the 3 got the best medical attention possible, and all 3 woke up. "Hospital. Kakashi, I need to know what happened on the reinforcement mission I gave you, and the 90 ninjas sent after you to assist you and the 15 ninjas at the outpost after they called for reinforcements." The Hokage stated gravely. Kakashi nodded and his eyes grew fearful. "It was horrific. It started off well, but when we sent in the ninjas 3 people Hokage-sama. 3 people. It was so horrible." Kakashi grew hysteric. "Hokage-sama, all of our ninjas were slaughtered with not a single survivor but ourselves. And by only 3 ninjas that looked like they were no older than 9. One summoned an ice woman and decimated 40 ninjas at once. One shot phoenixes of flames and killed more, and the last shot out clay birds and spiders that killed the rest. They were so powerful. I was defeated by the girl who wielded two tonfas cloaked in flames that utterly decimated me. I couldn't even land one hit. Iwagakure took over, terrified. I was defeated by a boy who wielded clay animals like they were going out of style. Several times I thought I had imprisoned him, he matched me, and then some. He then defeated me with an army of over 1,000 exploding clay animals that destroyed my ultimate defense of 3 defensive jutsus Hokage-sama, 3 and all Mokuton. Yamato yelled at the end. Kakashi was defeated by a ninja that wielded weird jutsus and a very long Nadachi he called Masamune. He was defeated in 3 moves, but Kakashi got desperate and used Rakiri, but the boy stopped it with a wind version that was more powerful. Kakashi then used a Kaiten jutsu to get us out of there. What would you rank their power? S rank. All 3 spoke in unison with not a single moment of hesitation. Alright, I will put them into the bingo book with a 10 million Ryo bounty on each. Their names? The Hokage asked. The one that fought me was the Ryu Mahutsukai. Kakashi said, finally out of his hysterics. My opponent was the Azure Fenikusu. Yugao spoke. Mine was the Bakahatsu Senshi, truly deadly. Yamato whispered. The Hokage nodded his head and left. Tsuchikage's tower, 3 weeks after the mission. You know the mission you 3 got 2S ranked mission pay for? The Tsuchikage asked the sub-elemental Armageddon team. They all nodded. Well, it earned you a place in Konoha's bingo book. All 3 pairs of eyes widened considerably. He tossed them each a bingo book and instructed them to turn to pages 173, 174, and 175 in the S-rank section. Page 173. Name. The Ryu Mahutsukai. Affiliation. Iwa, Sub-Elemental Armageddon. Rank. S. Bounty. 10 million Ryo in Konoha. Age. No older than 9. Skills. Ninjutsu, uses strange variation with incantations instead of hand seals. Cage level. Dijutsu. Not known. Ninjutsu. Beyond cage level. Genjutsu. Not known. Extra. Do not engage if you are not a cage level ninja in all aspects. Capable of killing armies and summoning strange creatures. Approach with caution. Page 174. Name. The Azure Fenikusu. Affiliation. Iwa, Sub-Elemental Armageddon. Rank. S. Bounty. 10 million Ryo in Konoha. Age. No older than 9. Skills. Ninjutsu, capable of incredible fire manipulation, comparable to the Nidaime Hokage. Cage level. Dijutsu. Beyond cage level. Genjutsu, uses deadly bladed tonfas. Cage level. Genjutsu. Not known. Extra. Do not engage if you are not a cage level ninja in all aspects. Capable of summoning flaming phoenixes to kill enemies. Approach with caution. Page 175. Name. The Bakahatsu Senshi. Affiliation. Iwa, Sub-Elemental Armageddon. Rank. S. Bounty. 10 million Ryo in Konoha. Age. No older than 9. Skills. Ninjutsu, uses an infinite amount of clay animals that explode on impact. Beyond cage level. Dijutsu. Not known. Ninjutsu. Not known. Genjutsu. Not known. Extra. Do not engage if you are not a cage level ninja in all aspects. Capable of summoning an infinite amount of clay animals that explode with the force of multiple exploding tags. Approach with caution. The 3 ninja were baffled. To earn a place within the bingo book at such a young age is an achievement never before seen in any of the elemental nations. It was crazy. Such powerful young ninjas. The Tsuchikage was beyond proud. 2 months later, at the academy, the end of the academy has neared, and those that were ignorant of this day were happy and spirits were high, but for those who knew what this day marked, were sad. Why were they sad? Well, simple, today marked the end of the sub-elemental Armageddon, for it never would be the same without its fearless leader. But for one onyx-haired girl, it would mean the loss of a boyfriend for a very long time. Alright everyone. Settle down kids. Deidara said to the rowdy kids that studied at the academy. Today is a very bittersweet day. It's sweet because it's the end of this year and the start of the summer. However, this is also a bitter day because a very dear member of the academy is leaving us to travel. But it's also his birthday. That person is Naruto Mugenryu, one of my most favorite apprentices. Most students glared at Deidara for this comment. However, after they stopped glaring at Deidara, many, if not all of them adopted a very somber disposition because after all, Naruto was very well liked by the student populace. Naruto, would you like to say something to the class? Naruto nodded. Class, it truly was both an honor and pleasure spending the last year with you all and will be one I treasure forever and one I will never forget. Irony, I'll see later. Thank you for accepting me with open arms, thank you for being my friends, thank you for being my teammates, my classmates, my comrades, and my nakama. I will never forget you all, again with the irony like I said, you'll see later. Q evil author laughed. After the academy, a flash of fear came into his eyes as suddenly 4 giant clay birds fell from the sky and impacted the ground with a huge explosion. 4 pillars of lava burst from the ground, blue flaming chakra birds surrounding them, and huge gusts of wind and foxfire flew everywhere. Large transparent boxes with small white spheres in them impacted the ground and atomized everything it touched. Naruto covered his eyes and watched as all of his senseis and teammates leapt from the surroundings and yelled, "Happy birthday Naruto Naru-kun Naru-chan." I think you can guess. Tears pricked the edges of Naruto's eyes as a group hug commenced and festivities commenced as well. Training was cancelled and the entire village attended the party. There were tournaments to test ninja skills and booths with games for the civilians to play. It truly was an excellent day. Uritsuchi gave Naruto a kiss on the lips and a sad, somber look crossed her features and tears rolled down her face. The Tsuchikage gave Naruto a big hug. Both Han and Rashi gave Naruto a fist bump. Gari gave him a smile and Deidara gave him a hug as well, blubbering like a baby. Kenta was last and gave him a handshake and a hug as he too cried. "Thank you all so much." Naruto cried. They all gave him gifts. From the 3 explosive experts, Naruto was given a picture of the 4 of them together, an explosive bird that was the best piece of artwork Naruto had ever seen. From the Tsuchikage, he received a shirt with the word Sub-Elemental Armageddon on it and a mask with the words Ryu Meiho Tsukai. From his girlfriend, he received a blue phoenix that she said was made of fire that would only go out if he met her again in the next 4 years. Naruto hugged with all of his might and they both cried together. After the sadness was gone and the festivities were done, Naruto, Ifrit, who showed up out of nowhere, Hanu, and Akane made their way out of the village. On the way to Suna. "We are on our way to Suna, correct?" Ifrit asked. Hanu nodded his head. "It's the last place we need to visit before we make our way to Konoha," he said. Naruto and Ifrit nodded in confirmation. All of a sudden, Hanu's wings, tails, and horns popped out, Naruto's own draconic features appeared. Akane's tails, ears, and claws appeared as well, Ifrit's tail, horns, and flames appeared. All of them got on guard for one reason. A puddle of blood had appeared out of nowhere and was twisting and moving, as if it was a sentient being. The puddle of blood moved and grew until it formed a humanoid shape and an arm popped out of the side of the sword of humanoid mass of blood. Another arm popped out and soon the mass of blood fell off and 2 human, or are they, beings came out the mass of blood. A man that was about 5'9" stood with short black hair and a pure white suit, even the tie, and had piercing red eyes that slightly glowed. He also had a cross hung from his ear. He was thin and pale-skinned. Next to him stood a man who had blonde hair with purple at the tips. He wore a black suit as opposed to the white one of his counterpart. He had a slightly evil and predatory look to him. "Frankenstein, test the white-haired boy," the one with black hair said. "Hi, master." And with the response of the blonde-haired one, Frankenstein launched himself at Naruto, wisps of thin dark energy, ready to rend Naruto to pieces. Naruto leapt up and countered with an adachi in hand, ready to kill Frankenstein. Frankenstein widened his eyes at this and summoned a large amount of dark energy at his hands and launched it at Naruto. The energy went towards Naruto in the form of many razor-sharp glowing purple-black strings of energy. Naruto countered with a quickly executed blade beam that destroyed the strings. Naruto and Frankenstein fought for many hours until they both shot back, Naruto covered in many glowing purple cuts despite his hard dragon skin and panting. Frankenstein too has cuts here, but he is smiling like a crazy lunatic, not tired in the slightest. "Who the hell are you people?" Naruto said panting. "I am the black-haired person spoke. What if Naruto has dragon and phoenix mode?" Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.